Welcome to our August 12th, 2025 Board of County Commission meetings. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'd like to begin this agenda with a moment of silence and also in respect for Sean Green, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by William Ward and Kelly Ward. Please join us. Thank you. Wards, would you like to come forward? Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your service?
Not done yet.
Would you like to tell us a bit about your service?
He is hard of hearing, but yes, he was a Marine Corps veteran, injured in Vietnam, received his Purple Heart, came home all in one piece, and we're grateful for it.
Thank you very much.
Nobody ever sees us stand up for them because they're always walking away.
We'll begin with a motion to approve the agenda, not including the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Hetherington, was your light about the
Oh, that
approval
was
of the
just
agenda?
for agenda.
Okay. We're going to begin with a presentation by Jenny Fields, our Martin County property appraiser. Good morning and welcome. You're always full of great information.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. This is a big week. This is our Super Bowl week for the property appraiser. For those that don't know who we are, just really quick, we are a local constitutional office. There's 5 constitutional offices in each county. You have your sheriff and your clerk and your tax collector, supervisor of election, and your property appraiser. Our primary responsibility is to locate, identify, and value every property in Martin County. And that is for the primary purposes, for tax purposes, for ad valorem tax. And as you know, as a taxing authority, every taxing authority in Martin County relies heavily on ad valorem taxes. And so us establishing the value is key in that role. And so we take that very seriously. But this Thursday, we will be mailing out over 107,000 trim notices. And on the screen, you'll see a sample. Each of you, and I believe everyone here, also has a copy. And I kind of wanted to just touch a little bit about what this notice does. So this is a sample trim notice. There are 6 primary functions of this notice that you need what I'm going to go over today. First and foremost, right at the top, often we get phone calls when they're like, well, I don't own property, why am I getting this? When really it's because they own a business and this is for their tangible personal property. So right at the top right under the yellow box, you'll see it says real property. If it is for your business, it will say tangible personal property. So just know that right off the top, there are 2 different kinds of trim notices. Now, as we go through what the 6 main functions of this is, and the reason I say this is our Super Bowl, right, is because in the next 25 days, our office, on average, will handle about 2,000 phone calls. And the reason for that is because everything you see on this notice is proposed for 25 days. I mean, just in a nutshell, that's basically what it means. The values are proposed, the millage rates are proposed, everything on here is a glimpse of what your tax bill that you receive in November will be based off of. But right now, it's your time to ask questions. If you don't agree with the value you see on the property, that's my office. You would call us. If you don't agree with the millage rate, the tax rate that you see on the form, you would contact your taxing authorities. All that information is being given to you on this notice. That's why it's called a truth and millage trim notice. And so that's why it's important. But beyond that date, and that date is in the bottom right-hand corner of this form. It's your filing deadline, which means after that date, we have to certify our tax roll, the values and everything in it, to the tax collector who will process that in November to mail the tax bills. So everything right now is your opportunity as a property owner and a business owner to ask questions. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the label number 1. Number 1 is the taxable value. That is the bottom line number that you are going to be paying taxes, ad valorem taxes on. And if you look at 1 and 4, those are the 3 values. You have your market value, which is what my office says your property is worth. That's in the green section. Then you have your assessed value, which is basically the market value minus all your assessment limitations, your caps, right? So if you have homestead exemption, it's probably a 3% cap. If you have a vacant lot or a commercial strip center, it's a 10% cap. But either way, if there's any assessment limitations or caps on your value, that assessed value will deduct all of those assessment limitations. And then from the assessed value, all your exemptions, which you see in section 6. Those are all the exemptions that you applied for and qualified for that are being applied to your property. Those exemption amounts come off your assessed value, and that leaves the base taxable value, right? And that's what your taxes are based on. So that's why it's up in the middle section with the taxing authority section. So taxable value is what you're going to be paying taxes on. Now, the second section, and I'll just kind of preface this to say, we didn't number the gray section, which is prior year, because according to the Florida Department of Revenue, that's irrelevant. It means nothing to this year, right? Everything that the taxing authorities have to vote on, every starting point that you're going to be making those decisions on will be based on this blue column, which is called the rolled back rate. And in essence, and I'll just read it to you, the rolled back rate is when a taxing authority's taxable value, that's what my office establishes. When that taxable value increases from the prior year, that rate that was there decreases, okay, thereby levying the same taxes as they had last year. So if the taxing authorities use this rollback rate, they would acquire the same amount of revenue they got last year. So basically, in a nutshell, if we're giving more taxable value, if the increased base goes up, then the rate goes down. But because of that, that's where each taxing authority, all 10 taxing authorities in Martin County, that's where they have to start. And so when you vote on your final millages, it will be what happened based on that rate. So if you're going to go up, if you're going to go down, the Florida Department of Revenue will look at that rate because that is your starting point for all taxing authorities. The third one is going to be basically the proposal. That is what each of you as the taxing authorities have provided our office. That is your proposed millage rate. And again, if you have questions about that rate, all your taxing authorities are listed on the left. And if you're in the municipality, they will be listed on the left. You have all your independent districts that levy countywide. Every taxing authority that is levying where your property is located will be listed on the left, and their rate will go all the way across to the right. And then again, as I said, the purple section is basically just the amount of taxes, amount of value you pay no taxes on. Those are all your caps. Those are your assessment limitations. So if you're looking to move, that Save Our Homes in the purple section is key to you because that is the amount of cap that you're paying taxes on. You're going to be able to take that with you when you move. So if you're looking to move right now, pay attention to that section 5, the purple section. So again, just in a nutshell, that's kind of like a windshield view of what the trim notice is. But please call our office, talk to us, give us a call. The information, our phone number will be on the trim notice. So with that, the other thing that's going to accompany your trim notice, and everyone should have a copy of it, is an informational supplement. If you have never read this, we create this in the office, and we kind of pick what do we get the most phone calls about? What, in all of our presentations all year long, what trouble people the most? Where are their biggest questions? And we put it right here. So right off the bat, it kind of shows you my role in the whole trim process. It shows you, this is kind of how it shows you how the taxes are derived. Property appraiser times millage rate, which is set by your taxing authorities, equal the tax dollars. Okay, so that's the thing. That's the kind of the formula. If you look on the first inside page, this is Martin County at a snapshot. So you can see everything that's proposed this year. This is what happened countywide in each municipality, how much new construction was reported, and then the percent change from their taxable value and their market value. Kind of gives you some fun facts. There was a constitutional amendment that passed last November, which increased the second homestead exemption. So there's a whole section in here that kind of explains that. We're so used to seeing, you automatically assume everyone gets a $50,000 homestead exemption. Well, now that's not the case, because now that second $25,000 is going to increase every year if the inflation rate goes up. So it kind of gives you a little description of that. If you are a new home buyer, in the bottom middle section, please read this, specifically if you purchased last year. Because if you purchased in 2024, you are the ones who are going to be calling our office. Because when you purchased your property last year, you inherited all the caps and all the exemptions that the seller had. But now in 2025, it's going to be based off, the values are going to be based off your sale price. You could see a significant increase. This explains that. Again, call our office, so that's key. And then the next panel kind of goes into the Save Our Homes benefit and why it's so important to file for homestead exemption, how you can take that nugget of savings with you when you move, the portability. And then it kind of, again, the same thing I just went over with you with the trim notice, the 6 main parts. Why our date of assessment is so important. People tend to think that they'll call or they'll see me on the in a presentation and they'll say, so what's the market looking like right now? And I'm like, I have no idea, but I'll let you know in 2026, because they don't realize everything we do is in arrears. So our date of assessment by Florida Department of Revenue is January 1. So everything, this value that you see for 2025, the taxes that you pay in November, all of that is based on a snapshot of your property on January 1. So anything that happened after January 1, we are prohibited from looking at it. We will look at all that next year. So again, that kind of explains the date of assessment. And then it just ends up with some frequently asked questions and some tools that are available on our website. So again, it's a 6-panel document. It's a lot, but again, it's important information. Check it out. And then if you have not registered for our e-newsletter, again, that's something we create in-house. We don't sell your email. We just, as a property owner, you have rights, and there's things you need to know, deadlines you need to know. So we launch a newsletter digitally every month, and it has all that important information in it. Well, we're going to be doing a special trim edition. So whether it's the video, we have a really cool educational video about the trim, the handouts you've seen today, the proposed millage rates for all the taxing authorities are there, all the budget hearings. If you have questions about your tax rates, on the back of the trim notice will be all of the taxing authorities' budget hearings. You can go to those. And then, so it will all be on that e-newsletter that's going to be coming out here probably at the end of this week after the trims are mailed, or early next week. And then the last thing is we're offering 2 sessions. The Hobe Sound Library, we're going to be there talking to you about your trim notice. We encourage you, bring your trim notice with you if you have questions. If you don't understand something, we're going to be at the Hobe Sound Library on September 3rd at 1:30 p.m. And then we're going to be right here at the Blake Library on September 10th at 1 p.m. Again, I encourage you, this is the opportunity. Let us explain it to you. We love talking about what we do. So come, and if you didn't catch those dates, they're on our social media, they're on our website, and they're on our outreach calendar. So with that, I don't have anything else. If anyone had any questions for me, I hope I didn't go over too much time.
Excellent. We do have a
Very
question.
good presentation.
Commissioner Capps.
Good morning. I noticed on the front cover here that there are 3 $25,000 exemptions. Those are called exemptions, right? Or
Right.
no? Yeah.
So it's
And
not
do most
actually-
people get, explain that a little bit. I was thinking that most people only got 50,000 off, but,
There is only 2. There's the
Okay.
original $25,000 homestead, and then there's a second additional homestead exemption of $25,000, which is now increasing. That applies to any value over $50,000, from $50,000 to $75,000. The reason the trim notice shows 3 is because it could be different whether you're in the county or whether you're in the city.
okay.
Because each municipality can also vote for a different one, or they don't vote, like the senior exemption could be in there as well. So it just depends. That's why it says for city taxes and one says for county levies. But there is only 2.
Interesting. Thank you.
Any further questions?
No, thank you.
That was
Thank you so
excellent.
much.
Thank you very much.
You want to have your team stand up? We can see them.
Sure, I have a big group today. Stand up.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We are now going to present a proclamation declaring Purple Heart Day in Martin County. And who is accepting?
We have William Ward, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and Kelly Ward, U.S. Army veteran, who came up and led the pledge. The Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in use today and evolved from the Badge of Military Merit, created by General George Washington in 1782. The Purple Heart is awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who've been wounded or died in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. The board recognizes August 7th as Purple Heart Day in Martin County and appreciates the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients and all veterans who have made in defending our freedoms.
Here you go. Here's your proclamation. Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say a few words?
No.
Okay, thank you. Can I take a picture?
Yeah, she blends into the wall. It look like just a floating head. That's a positive comment. She probably picked that color based on that jacket.
Thank you.
Nice, the whole family came. Beautiful. That's a big boy.
We'll now hear from the public. Sadiya Sepharades, would you like to speak during public comment? Excellent. Ms. Sepharades will be followed by Tammy Calabria. Tammy, you want to speak during public comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
Good.
Very well.
I'm here because in support of the public art. I tried to give you this little story. As you know, I was in my home in Morocco for a month and a half, and unfortunately, it was a sad trip for me. And when I get very, frustrated or something, one of my nieces will drive me around town. And one thing brought my curiosity. Every building have a mural and tell you a story about the city. And then they have so many runabouts. Everywhere you go is a runabout. Here we have a runabout with trees. Over there is not. They have a water fountain. On the top of it is something from the industry. For example, Kenitra is known for fishing. Matter of fact, they're competing with Stewart. And you see like a big fish on the top. Or also they have the industry of fixing cars. Then you see next to the train station is 3 or 4 of them. Please don't look down on us because today you're going to hear about our public art. We are trying to get couple fundings. So would you please, for me, is good for our community. And at least we see our history and the kids will appreciate where they see. And thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Calabria is next, followed by Rob Steele. Mr. Steele, do you want to talk during public comment? Okay. Good morning.
Commissioners, Tammy Calabria. Nice to see you all this morning. I'm here on behalf of Arts and Culture and the Public Arts. I raised my kids in Palm City, and we are super proud of our Parks and Recreation. Jensen Beach Playground just opened, amazing. I think we stand out above any other county around us in what we're doing. And a couple months ago, I took a walk through Palm City, through the ecosystem that has been created there. And I had such pride in a space that was once a marshy kind of wetland turned into this beautiful ecosystem. And with the art and the signage and displays, it's so educational, and I would just hate to see that go away. I think it just instills such a sense of pride in a community when you have art in certain places and you're trying to improve a neighborhood. It just makes us stand out above and beyond. And also, on behalf of the House of Refuge, under the leadership of Robert Steele, he has elevated all of the historical societies, buildings, and organizations that are housed within that. So I encourage you to support the House of Refuge and Rob Steele and their initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Steele is next, followed by Patricia Koff.
Good morning, everyone. There we go. We have a couple slides popping up there quickly. I'm here to speak about the House of Refuge and our 70-year run in collaboration and cooperation with Martin County. This is our logo. As you can see, there was a rebirth of the Historical Society as the umbrella under which these two beautiful museums, the Elliott and the House of Refuge Museum, reside. We have a strong emphasis on local history now in our culture. It's so interesting to look back to January 15th, 1956, which is when the House of Refuge Museum opened. The Historical Society was founded by the women of the Seroptimus Club. 2,000 people showed up on that date, and you can see that Hutchinson Island looked just a touch bit different back then when the museum opened. How do you get 2,000 people to the island? That woman's eating an ice cream cone, and it's guaranteed to work absolutely every time. These are the artifacts from the House of Refuge, which is undergoing a $1.8 million renovation right now, and you can still see all these beautiful things at the Elliott Museum. We wanted to keep things going even though we're closed for a few months for that much-needed renovation. This is a beautiful mural painted by Brent McCarrans and others inside the car gallery at the Elliott Museum. Again, it brings emphasis to the fact that we truly cherish both of our museums in every way, shape, and form. This is the Pelican, which was built by Hugh Willoughby, another person of local history lore. Hugh Willoughby actually crashed the Pelican in the lagoon and was rescued by Hugh Bessie, who was the keeper of the house. So you can see how intricately everything is intertwined in our history. And we have a replica of that very same Pelican that was designed in collaboration with the Wright brothers in the Elliott Museum. This is another beautiful story, Ross Witham Beach and the Turtle Man. More times, I hear this story more times than anything else with regards to the House of Refuge. There are so many children. I don't know if people in here ever went to the House of Refuge as a child or had your children go there, but it's really a big part of our history, and people hold that near and dear to their hearts. We've had a management agreement with Martin County for 70 years. This year, I proposed a 4.35% increase in our fee, going from $92,000 to $96,000. In that same 3-year period, the United States rate of inflation was 15.8%, so it seems more than fair to me. And in that same window, we also made many improvements to the museum, updating exhibits, and we also brought the refuge runner to shuttle people out to the museum, so we're covering all those salaries as well. And here's my contact information. If you ever need information or would like a tour or like to come out and see what we're up to, we like nothing better than to invite guests into our house. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Have a beautiful day.
Patricia Koff is next, followed by Jane Baldridge.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's been great. This is my first commissioners meeting, and I'm so thrilled to hear about Palm City. I would echo everything that was just said, and I love the House of Refuge, and the tax information was great to hear, so great meeting. I have a very specific question. It's related to the consent agenda and the warrants around CNST2. There's 22 million in there that's not described, and I would appreciate any information about what all those disbursements are related to.
You want to tell her we don't answer questions?
22 million in our county going somewhere, please. Anybody?
We generally don't directly answer questions during public comment.
Okay, first meeting, I didn't realize that. I did send several emails Saturday and yesterday, and I've not received anything back. I could have saved our time here today if that happened. Do we have a staff person designated to respond to people?
Certainly.
Great.
Yes, we have an RFS system. I'm sure your information's been put in, and our budget office will be responding to you. All of that information is also kept with the clerk of court in terms of how all those disbursements are made, and they're all for pre-approved budgeted items.
Okay.
And an RFS is a request for service. So, these are all public records. They're all available. All you make a request and you'll receive an answer.
Okay, thank you.
There's a woman standing in the lobby. Her name is Stephanie Murley. You could step right out and ask her right now.
Jane Baldridge is next, followed by Jean Brooks.
Good morning,
Morning.
and thank you. I'm here to talk about public art. I understand it's one of the subject items today, and it's very near and dear to my heart. Public art is a silent healer. It helps our well-being in many ways that often go unnoticed, but are very important. Every time I see a Jeffrey Smith sculpture or one of the many murals or other artworks around town, there's some in this room actually, I find myself taking a breath, smiling, and being a bit happier. There is so much negativity these days that having a spot of beauty can help tone down the angst incrementally. When I go into other cities that have public art, it makes me like those places more. I recently visited a few cities in Texas that have no public art. They have no green space in the traffic islands and no architectural control over the buildings. The visual blight is palpable. I was sickened by the ugliness which was everywhere. The people I know there have less joy than those of us lucky enough to live in Martin County. The population as a whole were in a hurry and unhappy. Imagine the impact on a child who grows up in a town with nothing but box stores and street signs. The disparity between that image and one with color and art that can inspire pride in one's hometown, as well as give hope of better possibilities for the future. I am all about not having government waste, but 29 cents per resident, I think your constituents deserve better than the blight of Costco and Walmart. Give them a little hope and beauty. So in conclusion, I ask you to continue support for art in public places, and today specifically for the sculpture at the patio at Palm City Place. All the work that's been done around there makes me happy every time I drive down that road. The mosaic at the Port Salerno mooring field upland site, I think, will also bring joy and a welcoming to the people. We have a lot of boat traffic come into our area, and there's also a lively music scene down there. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jean Brooks is next, followed by Terry Kogel.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Gene Brooks. I live in Palm City. Actually, I was born in Stewart in 1942, so I've seen a lot of changes around here.
Good for 1940.
I'm here on behalf of the proposed restaurant at the VIP Marine. My whole family is into boating, and I need some kid-friendly restaurants, which I think this one is going to be. I've actually seen the plans and been in landscape all my life, and actually have the opportunity to do a little suggestions, and which he has listened to. I think it's going to be a great facility, especially with my 14 grandkids. I had to get a bigger boat to put them all on. But I've talked to Austin, I know him personally, and I know that he's very serious about doing the best job possible. I think it's going to be a beautiful site, and I would really urge everybody to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Kogel is next, followed by Rachel Morciano.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is to clarify my presentation at the last NAC meeting in Port Salerno regarding the four-way highway lane they thought we were going to put in Dixie Highway. Back in July 7th BOCC meeting, I presented the reasons against the four-lane highway. I never received the courtesy of being given an answer. I then contacted 3 county departments, and they never returned my calls or emailed me. The third advised me it would be brought up at the next NAC meeting. Not one would give me an answer about a four-lane highway. Only when WPTV contacted the county was it broadcasted on TV with the answer, only 2 lanes. The news can get an answer, but we, the public, cannot. Commissioner Hurd stated we spread misinformation. It is your refusal to provide us with any information that creates the alleged misinformation. Where is the honesty in this commission? Further research showed there is a grant for safe streets and roads. This is to prevent serious accidents and injuries. You tried that between Indian Street and Kensington Road, and this is on Dixie. The Golden Gate project is now locally named the Rear End Alley because of the removal of all the left-hand turning lanes that were replaced by bushes and trees. The project has caused numerous accidents and injuries. In its design, there was little or no regards to the health, the safety, and the welfare of the residents of Martin County. We need nothing more than a bike lane, and you're well aware of that. We do not have much traffic going down that street. Your ability to spend money like a drunken sailor on a 3-day pass is not for the good of the communities and county, but to further your own agenda. You will have to expand Cove Road to Dixie because of all the property that's being sold for development. Dixie will not be able to handle the traffic. You will be creating a bottleneck at the Cove Road traffic circle, and I'm assuming by then you'll probably put in your 4-lane highway. Thank you.
Thank you. There are not and have never been any plans to 4-lane Dixie.
There will not be a 4-lane.
That's-
How are you going to get all that traffic through?
There are no plans to 4-lane Dixie. Thank you. Rachel Morciano, followed by David Koch. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Rachel, and I'm here to strongly support Meriden Marina on our waterfront. This waterfront restaurant won't just be a place to eat. It will be a community gathering spot, an employer for local residents, and a draw for visitors who will keep our small businesses thriving. Every meal served will support jobs, fuel tourism, and keep our local economy strong. Meriden Marina will also show real commitment to being a responsible waterfront neighbor, using eco-friendly practices and managing sound levels to respect the neighborhood, just to name a few. They will prove they can operate in a way that protects the beauty and integrity of the waterfront. Approving their bill will mean creating jobs, supporting tourism, and preserving one of the few places where our community can come together right at the water's edge. I urge you to vote in favor of Meriden Marina and make this a vital part of our community, a place where locals and visitors alike can come to relax, celebrate, and experience the unique beauty of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. David Koch or Koch is next, followed by Michael Apap.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Dave Cook, and I am a new resident to Palm City. We moved about a month ago, and we're excited to be here for a number of reasons, but we believe that the community is just magical. It's magical for tourists. That's what kind of lured us here to begin with, but it's even more magical for residents when you can experience everything that goes on in this community every day. And on top of that, there's a whole nother ecosystem of boating that I'm looking forward to taking advantage of. And when you add all these things together, the one thing that kind of brings them all together and that makes all three of those thrive is a waterfront dining restaurant or a dining experience. And when I found out that there was an opportunity to come and provide my support for that, I jumped at it because I think that as we all sit around on the weekends, we're looking to go out, and the first thing that we always think about is how can we find a good waterfront dining to really be part of the community. So I think it's great for the economy. I think it's great for the community, and hopefully you'll support the the waterfront options. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Apap is next, followed by Mark Perry.
Hello, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Apap. I live on the north side of Boat Ramp Avenue. The recent flooding events in North Carolina, Texas, and other areas in the United States has prompted me to be here today. I'm here today to identify a problem with the Bessie Creek drainage area. It's referred to as the Bessie Creek watershed, a lot of different terms. It involves about 11,000 acres, about 3,000 homes. Martin County has done a good job taking care of the drainage out there. There's been a lot of work done on the different tributaries, different Bessie Creek flows. So they've done their job, but understanding the Bessie Creek watershed goes north of 714, east from 95 to the Turnpike, and then from the Turnpike to the St. Lucie River. It's quite an extensive run. After Bessie Creek passes underneath Boat Ramp North, it goes into 4 different HOAs: Canopy Creek, Crane Creek, Canoe Creek, and the Covered Bridge. The area that I'm most concerned with is Canopy Creek subdivision. Bessie Creek has not been cleared of vegetation for a very long time, probably excess of 20 years. When a request for service was placed to clean the Bessie Creek through Canopy Creek, the response was, "It's not Martin County's job," per Jerry Hipsman. He's correct. But since they have regulative authority, they do have the enforcement rights to make HOAs comply. Therefore, Martin County must compel Canopy Creek to clean the Bessie Creek as it passes through it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Perry is next. And Mr. Perry is the last request to speak form I have for public comment. If you would like to, I'm sorry, I see you, Mr. Pine. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I want to give you a little declaration here as Florida Oceanographic Society celebrates Martin County's 100-year anniversary, and we're doing that by planting 100 mangroves. On behalf of Florida Oceanographic Society and as a Martin County resident since 1957, I wish to extend a heartfelt congratulations to Martin County on celebration of its 100-year anniversary, August 5th, 2025. For a century, Martin County has stood as an example of what it means to be a community dedicated to preserving its natural environment, protecting its ecosystems, and embracing environmental stewardship as a core value. Martin County's commitment to conservation has set a high standard across not only the state of Florida, but across our whole country. In celebration of this milestone and in honor of the vital partnership between Florida Oceanographic and Martin County, I'm proud to announce that we will be planting 100 mangrove trees. Mangroves are more than just trees. They are a symbol of resilience, restoration, and hope for our future. They stabilize our shorelines. They provide habitat for wildlife, filter pollutants and from our waters, and serve as the frontline defense for storm protection and erosion in our community. We appreciate Martin County's unwavering support as a partner of environmental education, conservation, and advocacy, reaffirming our shared mission to protect the natural resources that make Martin County so special. So happy 100th anniversary, Martin County, and we appreciate being here.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I have two more requests to speak for him. The next request is from Tom Pine, followed by Nadia Serenyi.
And then Nancy Turtle.
Okay, I put her under 9 or 11.
Yeah, she says now.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've been a resident of Martin County for over 50 years. The new Gilded Age. In 2012, Martin County opened Sailfish Splash Water Park. It was the first addition to our Parks Department that started the process of pricing out many working-class families from enjoying things we are forced to pay for at the Parks Department. Since then, our county commissioners have added high-end hitting bays to our county golf course, and now we have 2 mooring fields. All of these additions have absolutely nothing to do with the operation of government, but everything to do with more and more families and individuals going to bed hungry so the wealthiest among us can enjoy themselves on our backs. I found 2 other mooring fields in the area. One in Stewart, Sunset Bay Marina in Anchorage, which has a public-private partnership with the city of Stewart. That's how democracy works. And the other, Causeway Cove Marina on North Hutchinson Island. The interesting thing I found was the dramatic differences in cost. The 2 mooring fields operated by the Parks Department rent for $30 a day. The mooring field operated by Sunset Bay Marina in Anchorage rents for $60 a day, $600 a month. The one operated by Causeway Cove Marina is $42.80 a day. We, the taxpayers of Martin County, paid millions of dollars for these 2 mooring fields to be built. But who benefits from them? The business community, of course, the Martin County Chamber of Commerce members. It never ends. We, the taxpayers of Martin County, are always picking up the tab for the Martin County Chamber of Commerce. The same ones pushing for the train station as more and more go to bed hungry. Greed is the driving force behind the new Gilded Age, just like the last Gilded Age, and the people in charge of the driving force. Locally, it's our county commissioners. For over 2 decades, our commissioners have been hiding millions of dollars in expenditures in the consent agenda that have absolutely nothing to do with the operation of our government. And now we are paying the price. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nadia Serenyi is next, followed by Nancy Turtle. And Ms. Turtle is the last request to speak for him I have for public comment. I have some more that are under the items for, some of them are under the consent 9, which is the art for Palm City Place, and the other one is for the House of Refuge contract. Sure, who are you? Gotcha, yep. Okay.
Mary Shaw.
Hi, I'm Nadia Shirani, a new name, but I've been here before, always in support of the arts, and I would have liked to have gone after Nancy, but I'll go before her. And it may not look like it, but I'm actually standing here naked in front of you because I came planning to wear my Hope Sound Murals mascot, which is a gigantic paintbrush, but they won't let me through the door with it. So I'm feeling very naked in front of you. It was a prop to show how important a creative imagination is. And the Hope Sound Murals project, which I spearhead, has its mission is to celebrate our rich history, our present vitality, and our future promise. And we've successfully done so by creating 29 murals so far, and 3 more on the way this year. And they have connected commercial corridors, they have utilized local talent, they've created pedestrian experiences, and mostly they've created a sense of place. And we are all very concerned about our sense of place, and I have done that within my local neighborhood. But Martin County is arguably my bigger community, and I'm here to encourage you all to be as equally passionately supportive of every cultural addition at every opportunity that presents itself during your tenure as commissioners. It's a very important and vital aspect of the quality of our lives. Art and nature, culture and nature is everything. Potholes and beach restoration aside. Meeting agenda items are going to come and go unremembered in history, but there are hundreds of quotes that cultures and civilizations are only remembered and best appreciated by their arts. So I was going to stand here and say, an auctioneer can say 3,000 words in 3 minutes, evidently, and an average person about 300, and I'm at that mark right now, and I was going to let the picture of me in my imaginative paintbrush say the other 1,000 words, that it takes creative thinking to solve problems, it takes creative thinking to raise a child into a community and to come up with solutions. And I'm going to say, don't leave us culturally blank with voids when there is an opportunity to allow something extraordinary to occur. So I am in support of all art adventures. Thank you.
Nancy Turl is next, followed by Catherine Larson.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Nancy Turl, Executive Director of Martin Arts for the last 26 years. My predecessor, Mary Shaw, is here as well, who fought for the original ordinance in 1997 to be passed. I'm here, obviously, to ask for your continued support for art in public places, a tradition that is deeply rooted in the American story and one that continues to shape Martin County's identity today. Public art is not just a modern idea or an optional beautification project. It's a long-standing American tradition. Art has always helped define our communities. We are, after all, celebrating the county centennial this year, and for example, the Rio Arch was built in 1926, 100 next year. The Lyric Theater is celebrating 100 years next year. This community has embraced the arts, including public art, for its entire history, as those projects demonstrate. And that's because it helps us tell our stories, honor our past, and reflect on who we are and what we value. In short, it brings public life to public spaces. Here in Martin County, that tradition is alive and well. Public art installations express the natural beauty, culture, and creativity that make this place so special. It's in the Indiantown Library with a colorful stained glass reading nook for kids. It's along A1A in Salerno, reflecting our coastal heritage, and in our parks, and even right here in the commission chambers with these photographs that were done of our NACs. It's where people come together in dialogue, celebration, and sometimes even healing. But public art is more than symbolic. It's also a smart investment. It delivers real, measurable benefits. The nonprofit arts and culture sector generates over $31 million a year in economic activity in Martin County. That's jobs, tourism, local business spending, and public art is a visible and vital part of that ecosystem. It attracts visitors, sparks curiosity, and adds character to our built environment. It also sends a message to our kids, our neighbors, our future, that we value creativity, culture, and community. I'm asking you to support the 2 public art projects on your agenda today, the patio at Palm City Place, the Port Salerno Mooring Field Upland site with the selection of Jim Dirks, who's a longtime Stewart-based glass artist with a deep connection to this community. His craftsmanship, reputation, and commitment to the arts in Martin County make him an ideal choice. As you consider your role in shaping the future of Martin County, I ask you to continue to support policies, programs, and funding that keep public art visible, vibrant, and valued. Thank you for your time and your continued leadership. And, of course, I feel like the House of Refuge fits right into the same equation, so, of course, I'm asking you to support all of that as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Catherine Larson is next, followed by Mary Shaw.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Catherine Larson, and I am keeper of the House of Refuge, and I'm very proud to be here. We are the last remaining House of Refuge in Florida and the oldest building in Martin County. We predate the very county we now work within. To put it into context, the house has stood through 23 presidential administrations, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the Civil Rights Movement, the rise of aviation, the space race, and the digital revolution. It was built to support what we can be considered the original I-95 corridor, which was the sole mission was to save shipwrecked sailors along our ocean line. The House of Refuge remains an active thread through time and a cornerstone of Martin County's cultural, economic, and historical identity. Today, it is a county-owned asset. The Historical Society of Martin County, created in 1956 specifically to act as the stewards of history for Martin County's property, and has served in that role for 70 years. Within these 70 years, Martin County and the Historical Society have partnered under a management agreement that allows the house to operate as a living historic site, providing education, historical interpretation, and community engagement. This agreement ensures qualified, mission-driven oversight for our maritime history while protecting the county's asset. This agreement and this relationship are why I'm here today, because it works. In collaboration, we are the gem of the Treasure Coast. All of this is possible because of the county's management agreement with the Historical Society. This is not static preservation. It is active stewardship. And if I may leave you with one final note, perhaps the greatest achievement of the Historical Society of Martin County came within the framework of this agreement. In 1974, through deliberate and tireless effort, the Historical Society of Martin County secured the House of Refuge's place on the National Register of Historic Places, ensuring that this solitary outpost would stand shoulder to shoulder with the White House, the Golden Gate Bridge, Mount Rushmore, the U.S. Capitol, the Biltmore Estate, Independence Hall, and close to home, Vizcaya. It is proof of what is possible with vision, partnership, and purpose aligned. We are prepared to carry this work forward without delay or disruption into the 150th anniversary of the House of Refuge. Thank you for your time, your investment, and your consideration in evaluating the continuation of this agreement. And I, too, am strong support of Martin Arts. I think it is a critical measure for everybody to take value in art, in history, and our physical community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Shaw is next, followed by, and I'm sorry, it's William, last name begins with an R. Thank you.
That's a deep voice.
Good morning. I'm Mary Shaw, and as Nancy mentioned before, I was the original director of what was then Martin County Council for the Arts. I'm glad Nancy spoke first because I'm a little rusty at this. Plus, I've been away for a couple of months, so I just came into town knowing that this was on the agenda. But I did write the original ordinance for public art, along with Charlene Hogue, who was a former commissioner here in Martin County. We brought in people from South Florida that have had public art for a number of years, showing what it can do for a community, and I think it has done that. As you go around our community, you get a very strong visual sense of what we are and who we are, and that's very important to a community. There were many people who founded the Arts Council that knew that we had to have culture, arts, and historic preservation if we were going to be the community we want to be. And I think we are achieving that, but you have to work at it every day. It'll go away very quickly if you don't work at it. Please don't let that happen. The other thing I want to speak on is the House of Refuge, because again, I was on the advisory board when the county embraced its role as keeper and their responsibility for making sure it stayed there. They've told you its history and its importance, but I think you need to accept your role in keeping it here. We cannot lose the House of Refuge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're next, followed by Nicholas Geisler.
Good morning, Commissioners. I apologize for the handwriting. It's never been really good. Memorial Day, I got shot through the hand in an altercation, so it hasn't gotten any better. Life happens. I will have another agenda item to speak on later. Right now, I'm going to talk about Hammock Creek. My family kept cows on Hammock Creek along with others when the proposal was brought forth and the county agreed. They needed a drainage ditch along the side of our land. The four of us, four landowners, all sat, my dad, my friend Larry, Steve Ordway, and Red, and they proposed the right-of-way and the drainage ditch, and they said it would be maintained. Well, it was built. Hammock Creek was built. We took our cows off it. They built all those nice houses and everything else. And they built this drainage ditch, and we waited for it to be maintained. And we waited. And finally, this year, Sunshine Land Development came, and they cleared the growth and everything that's been in there. And it only took 30-something years, but it finally did happen. So I'm glad that it finally happened. So thank you very much for that. And I'll speak on the other agenda items later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicholas Geisler?
I'm here to speak on a later agenda item.
Which one is that?
It's the resolution, the Live Local ordinance.
Okay. That is the last request to speak form I have for public comment. Commissioners, with your permission, I think we'll go on to consent 9 and then consent 11, because I think that that's why all these people are here. So let's take up consent 9. Good morning, Ms. Corris.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Corres, Office of Community Development. As you know, our office also operates the Martin County Art and Public Places Program. I'd like to thank Commissioner Vargas for pulling this item. I love to talk about the rewards that a robust program like ours offers our community, and apparently so does the community. But instead today, I'm just going to focus for a few minutes on the economic benefits that it brings to our residents. This past July, the National Association of Counties came out with an article in their publication, I believe it's called County News Now, and it was entitled "The Arts Fuel Economic Growth in Counties of All Sizes." It's important to note that the industry, the arts industry, brings in $1.2 trillion a year nationwide. But the key takeaway from this little article was that a county doesn't have to be Los Angeles or New York to actually see the economic benefits from the arts. So let's talk about Martin County. In 2022, Americans for the Arts did an economic impact study of arts and culture organizations and their audiences, what they spend and how that impacts our local economy. And they drilled right down to Martin County. 40% of our arts and culture organizations responded to this study, which leads me to believe that less than 100%, these figures are probably underreported. So, in Martin County, the arts support close to 400 jobs. Personal income paid to residents, $14 million and a little bit more. Total tax revenue, $4.2 million. And events-related spending, which means what these organizations and their audiences, in other words, our residents and visitors, spend to attend and spend in the local stores, shops, gas stations, restaurants, et cetera, is over $15 million. That's for 1 year, underreported. I think it really shows that arts are an economic driver as well as all of the other benefits that were enumerated here today. I could tell you lots more statistics for the state of Florida and the nation. I won't go there unless you ask me questions, and I'm happy to answer any that you might have.
Commissioner Vargas.
Okay, you and I did have a conversation about this. Art was my minor at the university. I love art. I've been throughout the world. I've seen a lot of art exhibits, been a lot of places for that pleasure. You talk about the income, you talk about the jobs, you talk about the benefits that derives from artwork around Martin County. So my question to you is, if this is a driver
for folks to make this a destination to come see a piece of artwork here, shouldn't this fall under the tourism board and have them pay for the artwork? Or you might raise funds from benefactors in the community that appreciate this. You have two options there. But I think we really need to put our heart and our head together and say, wait a moment. Is this the most prudent use of hardworking taxpayers' funds in Martin County? Our residents work very hard. They are not all appreciating the same value of art. And again, I reiterate, I've been throughout the world. I've been to many places that are well known. Continuously, you said, well, we're going to continue to do this. But we really have to think very seriously. Why haven't you tapped those reserves?
In fact, Commissioner, we have tapped those reserves over the years, but we also have funding that's by ordinance. So that funding needs to be utilized in support of the arts to create artwork in Martin County using locals. We have 24 pieces in our inventory. Almost half of them, we support local artists. I think it's very clear in the numbers that the amount of money that's spent on art, it comes back to us tenfold, if not more.
Okay, so my question to you is, Mr. Donaldson, what did you say? The figure was 50,000 this time, 70,000?
So we're funded by 1% of any
I understand
capital
that, but
construction.
these particular pieces of artwork right now.
This particular piece of artwork that we're talking
Well,
about
there
is
are two. There's
$33,000.
something down in Port Salerno, isn't there? We talked about that the other day.
That's an item that comes up later, but we can talk about it now if you'd like.
Wasn't it today?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a separate item.
Yes, I understand that, but we're talking about art also. So, Mr. Donaldson, my question to you is, this particular money that she's talking about, this could be placed in the general reserves, correct? And we could tap tourism since you're saying that tourists come here. Wouldn't that make sense? That's already allocated. Well, these are questions that people ask me. How are you spending my tax dollars?
So, Commissioner, these funds have been specifically allocated for the arts. It would require a change in the ordinance in order to change that funding stream. Also, the tourism tax has various restrictions, too, on how it's spent since it's generated from the hotel industry, and it may not be quite as simple as just simply converting those funds to artwork if it isn't specifically linked to those tourism dollar restrictions. But in any event, today we're talking about a program that has been established by the county, and it is my opinion it would require a change in the ordinance to change the funding allocation.
Okay, this might be considered by the board then, because we really need to focus in on what is best for the general population. And this is why I pulled these items. I'm very well familiar with art. As I say, I will reiterate again, I studied art. I viewed a lot of art throughout the world. I appreciate it. In those countries, the taxes are very high. That's how the government is supporting that.
I was going to pull this item also, but for a very different reason. I learned about this project when it was the artists who created this are Australian, and they have showcased art all over the world. Some of it's extremely large. This is a beautiful piece that was for sale for $132,000. We were going to borrow it for a year for $33,000, and the artists offered it to us to sell it for $33,000. That's what we're approving or disapproving today. And I thought it's such a unique sculpture. It's so appropriate for our windy Martin County. The placement of it, I think, is really lovely. I think that it will be really enjoyed by our community. So I wanted to pull it to just showcase that this is some public art that I think is a great idea, and I certainly support it. Commissioner Campy.
First off, I would like to thank my dear friend, Commissioner Hurd, for those remarks. I feel like we're having a couple of different conversations. The first one is, and the agenda item pull, as Commissioner Hurd just mentioned, is specifically for this piece. And I was also going to mention that the negotiations that were involved over quite a long period of time allowed our staff and the folks on the Art and Public Places Committee to take a beautiful piece of art. Now, listen, we all understand. I mean, you could be in elementary school and you understand that art is in the eye of the beholder. We are not deciding if you like this piece personally or not. We're talking more broadly about the, in my opinion, about the value of art in your community where you live. So I have had some people say that they thought this was absolutely darling and fantastic. And if you get an opportunity to see, and maybe Ms. Corres can show the names of the artists again. When I first saw this piece, I went to their website and looked at all of their other pieces. It's remarkable what these two have been able to put together. Look at some of this. And wait, go back one picture. You see what's in the background, correct? It's familiar to most people, the London Bridge. This is some of the work that is world-renowned artists have placed all over, and a piece of theirs, even if we paid the full price, would be located not just in Martin County, but to my heart, in Palm City. But instead, the artists agreed to basically knock $100,000 off the price to go from $133 to $33, and not for a year. We get to own it. And so whether you say, I love that piece or I don't, it's still part of what we're trying to accomplish. So in terms of the agenda item today, just to be clear for the record, the first vote is specifically, should we use some of this money, which the Art and Public Places Committee has agreed they want to, and it comes to the board for final approval. I had always felt that commissioners should not be up here in what I call picking paint colors. We're supposed to be more of an advisory board to sort of give direction to our more than 1,100 employees on behalf of those that elected us to represent them, to decide what this should be. Not, hey, do you like this piece or not? We're going to bring up another one down in Port Salerno, and I know there's some choices between one or the other. But I think what we're hearing today is a larger conversation on, is this appropriate or necessary that the government put in any of their own money that has been generated by tax dollars? And I think most of the people that showed up this morning will already understand wholeheartedly what I'm about to say. Whether it's murals or sculptures or mosaic or architecture or whatever, part of the art of living is living with art. Now, I will tell you, I didn't make that up, but when I was very, very young, I worked in an art gallery type of store, and that was their motto. So that being said, most of us grow up with the appreciation of, even if you can't own it personally, that's why people go to museums. You have in your home whatever you can personally curate or afford, but for everyone else. And so if you're talking about rich people versus working class versus people that are financially struggling, people that financially struggle also want to be inspired by art. They're the ones most likely that can't have it any other way. Why wouldn't you want to put pieces right where they live? So we've been trying very hard to do that. And Nadia was here earlier, and she's out there wearing her gigantic paintbrush. She should be commended. Commissioner Capps, as the representative of Hobe Sound, is so fortunate because they're already known as the mural town. They have so many remarkable murals. In Palm City, we've been working on it. We don't have as many surfaces, but we got together with the kids from the high school and volunteers and painted a beautiful mural on the side of the Palm City post office. And what beyond it's being a piece of art, it's also a slice of our history. It has a sheriff's deputy, it has a firefighter, it has Aaron Vaughn, it has Leanne Pike, Teacher of the Year, it has a medical professional, it has a nurse. It's a slice of what we are proud of. It's our history. Those are Martin County, and in most cases, Palm City residents that we're celebrating. This piece in what we've done in Palm City, I'm hopeful that this will be the first of many pieces, because the patio at Palm City Place is designed in such a way to be a pedestal for art. And we have done a lot of other projects. There was a mention this morning by Tammy about the Ripple project in Palm City, which we took basically just drainage ditches, and with our help from the CRA and with grants from the National Endowment of the Arts, we got 2 where most communities in the United States get 0. We got 2 in Palm City. And we've created something beautiful there. It's not for everyone, but it is for some people. So let's talk the dollars and cents of this. I think it not only creates pride in your community, but pride in your community increases home values. People want to buy and live where they see this kind of community, where you know, hey, I'm going to look to spend probably the most money I'll ever spend in my entire life, our family. Where am I investing that money? Let's drive around. Do you see landscaping that's being maintained appropriately? Do you see architecture that's appealing? Do you see retail that you're interested in? Restaurants, we heard about restaurants, and we'll discuss restaurants. Where do you live? When you go on vacation, I, like Commissioner Vargas, have had the huge advantage of traveling all over the world, literally all over the world. And what do you do when you travel? You take your camera and you go hunt out the art, the architecture, the gardens, the landscape. That's what you do. And then you take pictures of it and you bring those pictures home. That's what we want people to do here. So now from a tourism event slash, should it be somewhere else? Tourism is part of it, but we're not putting this sculpture on the patio in Palm City Place for tourists. We're happy they'll see it. Our goal is to put it for the residents that live here. That's for us. We are the ones that live here. We're not visiting. This is ours. So if you increase home values, and you also, what else does a pride in your community bring? If you keep these art and you allow people to come and go, you got frequency, you got foot traffic. It's not these secluded areas where vandalism and illegal activity could take place, because it's active and busy and vibrant. So by putting art in public places, you keep vandalism down, you keep graffiti down, you keep theft down, because the areas are busy. That's an economic return on investment, because if you don't keep those things down, our sheriff's deputies will have to go and patrol more versus being on a vibrant main street. The last thing I will say about this is gathering places bring a sense of belonging. So we shouldn't think of this purely as like, are we spending our tax dollars, which are difficult to come by, and people write those checks very seriously to contribute to their community. It shouldn't be considered an expense. It should be considered an investment. Thank you. I make a motion to accept this agenda item.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Well, that was very good. I agree with much of it. All of what you said, Commissioner Campy. I would just add on, and I don't want to reiterate some of those points, except for you brought up elementary education, and I was at a board meeting recently, and they were saying that public schools are now starting to forego having art classes because of budget cuts and things, which to me was, as a parent of 20 and 21-year-old boys, absolutely shocking. So that part of our job is to teach our kids history, culture, arts, preservation, and the fact that public education now doesn't have the funding, to me, makes it even more our responsibility to have art in public places, because that's our future generation. So if they're not learning that in school, and there are not opportunities for them to experience that, then I think we're doing a disservice for our entire future generation. I think that, yes, we value our tax dollars. I agree that it's an investment. It's a beautiful piece, whether people agree or not. I think it's going to be a lovely addition to Palm City, and I would support it and gladly second it.
Commissioner Capps.
I would just like to reiterate a couple of quotes that I heard from public speakers. One was from Nancy Terrell, the Executive Director of Martin Arts, and she said, "Public art brings public life to public places." I thought that was a poignant statement. And also, keep our public art visible, vibrant, and valued. That stood out. And then from Mary Shaw, who is the former director of the Council for the Arts, who helped to write the ordinance and to about public art. She said, "Public art shows who we are." So I thought those were powerful statements, and I will support it as well.
I have two requests to speak forms. The first is from Joette Lorian Rice, followed by Julie Priest. Would you like to speak to us? Okay, I'll do that.
Hello, I'm Joette Lorian Rice, and I totally support this proposal. I think the more art we have, the better. And when I moved to Stewart, it was because of a lot of the pieces that were up as I rode around and all the artwork and the murals and the beauty. And so please support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie Priest, historical research volunteer, and since I am not trained in art, I went to find a resource that I could quote, and it was the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. The arts strengthens American communities, offering a distinctive blend of economic, educational, health, and civic benefits, while also preserving cherished cultural traditions. The public sector, that's all of us, has an essential role to play in ensuring that every community has the opportunity to thrive through the arts. Only the arts sector delivers a fivefold return on investment, boosting economic activity, improving educational outcomes, fostering civic cohesion, facilitating good health, and preserving our cherished heritage and traditions. Arts and creativity strengthen our community. Public funding for arts and creativity benefits every American. A strong arts sector is an economic asset that stimulates business activity, attracts tourism, and expands our workforce and tax base. The arts foster physical, mental, and emotional health that contribute to well-being. The arts create a welcoming sense of place, so important for someone like me that has been working on revitalization for decades, and desirable quality of life. The Art in Public Places program keeps improving here in Martin County and has a proven record of success. The project we're discussing is called "It Was a Windy Day They Would Never Forget" by internationally renowned artists Gilly, I'm going to pronounce it, I could be wrong. Gilly, thank you, and Mark. And for the bargain price of $33,000, which is absolutely incredible. It has Rabbit Woman and Dog Man for the kids, and it has a beautiful palm tree that's blowing in the wind for people my age. So it encompasses all of the age brackets. And I agree with Commissioner Campy and others who have said it is the most appropriate and imaginative for the scenic patio place. You have a beautiful park of Palm City, and we're getting it at a bargain price. I thank you for supporting it.
Thanks. Any further questions or comments? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Hi, I'd like to make one comment. I want us to be prudent in what we choose to spend our taxpayers' dollars on.
Is that a unanimous vote, or is it?
Unanimous.
Okay, all right.
My comment.
Thank you. Now let's
Thank you.
try to quickly take up consent item 11 before we take our break and before we take up our 10 o'clock preset. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Joining me is Sean Donahue, our General Services Director, and Sebastian Fox. This is an agreement for the Historical Society of Martin County, requesting a 3-year extension to manage staff as well as program the House of Refuge. It's a 3-year agreement, has a cost of $96,000. The prior cost was $92,000, and it was a $4,000 increase over the prior contract, which was about a 4% increase. Sean is here to answer any questions, as well as Sebastian Fox, but happy to answer any questions from you, Commissioners.
Commissioner Vargas?
Yes, I do have a question, and as guardian of taxpayers' funds, we have every right to ask questions as necessary. I did the math on this, and I understand it's about 4.5% increase. So having said that, you may say, well, it's only this amount to this amount. It's less than the inflation rate, but we don't have to be on par with the inflation rate at all. I did ask our county administrator, is this something that Martin County could operate on its own? It's a possibility, rather than the group that is there operating it now, to maintain cost. My question is, this is an additional 3-year contract, right? It's an extension?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So $96,000 increase that's being asked, it's almost $100,000. It's almost $100,000. And so every year it's going to be increased by an additional amount, is that correct?
No, so the contract is for the 3 years at $96,000 for each year.
No matter if the inflation rate goes up higher?
That's correct.
Okay, I understand. And, you know, it's really important that I ask questions so that I can understand the best, and also everything that I vote on, I want to do with complete confidence. I'm speaking on behalf of the taxpayers of Martin County, of which a lot of you here that work with Martin County are so.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you. I appreciate and agree that we are the stewards of Martin County tax dollars. It's interesting that for decades, the House of Refuge has been purely just quietly, and the Historic Society just quietly managing and maintaining a jewel, not just for Martin County, the oldest structure in Martin County, but the only one left in the whole state of Florida. And so I don't want to get into a whole big speech, which I won't, but here's the points that I wrote down. History must be protected and cherished. Historical places must be protected and cherished, not just for us today, but for the generations to come. Just as this treasure was passed on to us, we must protect it and pass it on to the next generation. When we were discussing the maintenance a couple of months ago, I was shocked, and afterwards had probably received more public feedback on that agenda item and how the direction that took, that could even have been a situation where we were thinking, like, do we continue with the House of Refuge, or do we just sort of let it go? This is one of the oldest contracts that we've had, and it's not just the House of Refuge, it's also the Elliott Museum, the Historic Society, for the legitimate price of $96,000 a year. We could never take this responsibility internally and handle it for $96,000. Remember, it costs hundreds of thousands more than that they get in volunteer hours, donations, grants. This organization sets the standard on what other organizations should be doing to emulate what they're doing. You know how difficult, I said this last time, a 150-year-old house would be nearly impossible to take care of. Any house on the ocean is nearly impossible to take care of. Put a 150-year-old house on the ocean, and we should be throwing you a parade, not necessarily asking, why are we giving you these dollars? And I agree with my colleague, with all due respect. $4,000 is $4,000. Each of us, Commissioner Smith said it, and out of knowing him for so many years, the comment that he made that will stick with me forever is every dollar has a constituency group. If you don't go to the libraries, you don't want money spent on libraries. If you're not interested in the Elliott Museum or the House of Refuge, you don't want any money spent on that. I could look to get you the $4,000 very simply. One item that we quietly voted on recently was our participation in NACO, the National Association of the Counties, about $3,300 a year. Maybe we don't need to be doing that, maybe we could, but that's just one example where I think we all voted for it to be represented on NACO. Well, you could make a case either way. So that has a constituency group, those 4,000. So for you to come forward and say, look, we're going to do 3 more years, and all we need is an additional $4,000. I gladly make the motion to accept that.
I'll second the motion.
Doing up here.
Mr. Donahue, the House of Refuge is undergoing renovations currently, is that correct? $1.8 million of tax dollars are being used to renovate. So it's going to be closed. So what is the $96,000? You're managing the renovation. So what's the $96,000 being spent on this year?
I would ask Mr. Steele if he could come up and explain that. I think in his presentation, he did show they are taking the artifacts from the museum and putting them in the Elliott and providing that exposure in the Elliott Museum. But
How long do we expect for the House of Refuge to be closed?
looking at the first quarter of 2027.
And also, this agreement says that the county agrees to allow the Historical Society to retain all admission fees, event rentals, and gift shop sales collected from the visitors to the property. So Martin County derives no benefit, no fee, no portion of any fees that are collected. Do we know how many visitors visit? Do we know what fees are collected? Do we know what event rentals are? Do we know, it's our asset. So how are we keeping track of the management? Do we audit the Historical Society? Do we have any information about its use?
Before Mr. Steele moves forward with some discussion points, there is provisions in the contract that require annual audits and annual information.
No, it says that we can ask for them.
We can ask for them, yeah. So we can.
Have we ever asked for them?
Not since I've been in management of it. In the past, I'm not sure.
We do such an inadequate job of managing our contracts, Martin County.
This is true.
We really do. Mr. Steele.
There was a series of questions there. I can tell you that we do continue to receive payments from the county throughout these multiple closures that we've had because, aptly described, we're managing a 150-year-old house on the ocean. So we've been closed several times for long periods of time. It would be a decidedly bad time in our history to lay off the entire staff. We did lay off our refuge runner drivers during this period of time. Our keeper is working with her staff long hours every day, every weekend to redo all the exhibits inside the House of Refuge. So when it reopens, you'll be entering a new chapter in our history and everything will be beautiful, all financed and paid for by the Historical Society of Martin County. The $96,000 a year is a small amount in the overall budget of operating the House of Refuge. That doesn't pay for everything. This is certainly not a cash cow in the overall operations of the Historical Society of Martin County. In fact, quite the opposite. We rely on admissions income, we rely on gift shop sales to supplement the amount of money that we receive from the county to create a profitable wing of the Historical Society of Martin County. When I say profitable, it probably is not profitable for us. If you get into allocations of my time, of our CPA's time, of everyone that's on staff and spends X percentage of their time on this, it's a losing proposition for the Historical Society. And I'd agree with Commissioner Campy when he said that if the county tried to do this, it would cost you a multiple of $96,000 a year, and probably 4 or 5 times that amount. It's very expensive. We have the expertise, we have the artifacts, we have the history, and we have a great relationship with staff in managing a very, very difficult situation. The contract allows for an audit if you ever want to look at anything. I've included my contact information if anyone ever wants more information about how things work and what comes in and what comes out. But I will tell you that we do this as a service to this community, just as we have done for 70 years, and will continue to do so.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I have a question. An entity that's funding another entity should proffer up an audit every year.
Audits are expensive to administer. They're time-consuming for both parties. We're happy to provide whatever information that's also in the contract, if you like, further elaboration without spending thousands of dollars, but we can't be priced out of the market with additional administration. We operate on a shoestring at the Historical Society. We're very careful with our money and certainly very careful with any money we receive from Martin County.
Okay, but it's still in the contract that the society, the county agrees that the society will retain all admission fees, event rentals, gift shop sales collected from visitors to property established herein. Why would we agree to that? Who wrote this contract?
Commissioner, those are items that would be included in recognition that those typical operation would not be having sufficient funds to pay for the operation. So rather than having fees or the price increased to pay for the service, the retention of the fees are allowed to be collected by the operator. And that also encourages them to continue to get visitors and programming to get the fees to supplement enough funds so they continue to operating. So it's an incentive to encourage the operator to get visitors there to help pay for the operation. It is. So that's why we put those provisions in the contract.
Okay, where is the audit? You've been operating this for how long?
70 years.
Okay, but your organization, you've been involved. Have you ever brought forth an audit? Have you ever been requested to provide an audit?
They did one before I arrived 7 years ago for the Historical Society, but we don't do one. We're not big enough to do one on an annual basis. If the county wants to ask for an audit and rationalize spending taxpayers' dollars on something like that, that's, of course, your option at any time.
No, but you're operating it. So you have control of the funds, so why would the county pay for that? We're already paying $1.8 million, plus we're going to increase this also. I don't quite understand. Does anybody else see the sense on this, to not ask for an accounting of monies?
We do an accounting internally of our entire operation, and we're active doing that every single day, so we know where we stand. Don't you agree with me when I say that any nonprofit should be operated as a business to make sure that they can get back to shore and operate in the black without needing public funds in the way of support?
Okay, but we are providing it. I mean, however you want to slice
You are providing a
it.
service for which you are compensating us. You are not providing us a donation like our donors do, who receive a deduction on their taxes. This is an agreement. We are a nonprofit that provides a service to you for a fee.
But it should be run as a business.
I'm glad you agree with me.
It should absolutely be run as a business, and we have provided taxpayer funds for this organization?
You have provided taxpayer funds for a service.
So we're entitled to an accounting, independent accounting.
Per the contract.
So nobody's asking for it on this board?
According to the contract, anyone, the society shall make the books, accounts, and records required to be maintained available to the county for examination or audit during normal business hours upon 5 days written notice. So if you're asking, we can make that request, and you have 5 days to provide us with that information. And the county should be doing a much more responsible job of caring for our assets. We should be requesting this information regularly.
And you will find that we are losing money each and every day that we're closed during this renovation.
We need to understand how much money is being.
It's important that you understand that as well.
We have 2 requests to speak forms. The first is from Joette Lorian Rice, followed by Julie Priest.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
Commissioner Hurd, nice to see you all. In 2003, first of all, I'm speaking on my own behalf because our board does not meet until the 18th, so we weren't able to discuss this issue. I'm the longest service. I'm the longest serving member of the Martin County Historic Preservation Board. I've been on it since 2005. And as a result of it, in 2003, when you passed your historic preservation ordinance, in which you did a designation process to place buildings more than 50 years old on the Martin County Register of Historic Places. One of those buildings is the oldest in Martin County, the House of Refuge, that dates back to 1876. It is the last standing survivor of 10 houses of refuge, or life-saving stations that were built along the Atlantic coast, the last one. Run by the U.S. Life Saving Services and housed by keepers, they were havens for shipwrecked sailors and travelers who fell victim to Florida's treacherous reefs. In 1945, the U.S. government decommissioned its operations, and the House of Refuge sat empty until Martin County purchased its 16-acre grounds for, and I can't believe this is right, but this is what I read, $168. Martin County and preservationists realized that the House of Refuge is a historic treasure. In 1955, the Historical Society of Martin County was formed to protect the house, and they opened the museum in 1956. The structure was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974 and on the Martin County Register of Historic Places in 2005. And as we discussed here, you have recently approved $1.8 million to rehabilitate and restore the structure, and much needed. For most of the years I served on the board, the House of Refuge, or probably all of the years I served on the board, has been owned by Martin County and leased to the Historical Society of Martin County. I am here today to ask you to vote yes on the requested 3-year extension so that the tourism programs continue at this historic landmark. Historic preservation of places like the House of Refuge is important, not only to what Southerners refer to as our sense of place, but to our economy. A study by the University of Florida showed that billions of dollars every year are brought into the economy by people who visit historic structures. Heritage tourism is also a great way to bring tourists and visitors to Martin County. According to a 2021 report, Preserving Florida Heritage, more than 6 in 10 visitors to our state participate in heritage tourism. They stay longer and they spend more money. And I gave you all just one page. My color printer, sorry it wasn't working, but this just came out in Southern Living. An article entitled "The Quiet Florida Destination has been called the best coastal small town in the U.S. One of the places they go is the House of Refuge.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, calling Stewart a Treasure Coast gem, it urges visitors to see an original House of Refuge.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Priest is the last request to speak form I have. If you'd like to address us on this matter, please fill out a request to speak form. Thank you.
Julie Priest, Historical Research Volunteer, and thanks to Joette, who sent me the link of the announcement published August 6th, today's only the 12th, that this quiet Florida destination has been called the best coastal small town in the U.S. I have it here for you, and tagged are the Elliott Museum and the House of Refuge. I'd like to pass that around. And I would like to speak on behalf of the management of the Historical Society of Martin County. 20 years ago, I went to the old Elliott to do research for putting the arch on the National Register. Am I?
The mic is not on.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. And just in recent years, the Historical Society allowed me to go in and do more research on all the buildings that I work on to put on the local register and the national register or for historical markers. And I was on the inside offices doing this work, going through their archive in a separate room, their library, and they were so gracious, they allowed me to make copies and copy the items onto a flash drive costing no paper and things of that item. But I was there, and as an employer, former employer, and as a business person, I am telling you that they operate beautifully. As for an audit, my daughter and my son-in-law are CPAs. I can assure you that audits are extremely expensive. So since the contract says that you give 5 days' notice and may look at the books, I think you can come to an understanding between the two, yourselves and the organization, to examine the books. Should be no problem, because I can assure you they are operating, and I have no ties with them, on the up and up. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Campy, briefly, please.
Yes, I think we got off the agenda item a little bit, and I don't disagree with my colleagues, but it's not necessarily, today we're discussing the Historic Society, Preservation Society, and the House of Refuge. If there is a concern that our contracts are not being audited or reviewed, that's a separate item for conversation with our legal department to discuss, perhaps as a suggestion, creating some. I see our esteemed clerk of the court in the background. She takes 7 seconds for her to realize I'm talking about her. There she is. We can have someone from her office, she's also our comptroller, to work with someone from our finance and legal department to create a small little group that randomly selects contracts out to be reviewed. Not necessarily, a lot of us that are involved in not-for-profits know what an audit process is and how expensive that is. I think we're confusing the word. Just have a review of the books. Open your books up. I don't think there's any not-for-profits in the county would be concerned or nervous about opening up their books. And if there are, then good. Let's figure out if someone is taking advantage of one of our not-for-profits. But in this particular case, I want to be careful that we're not besmirching the good reputation of the organization and the individuals involved in it because somehow we think that there's something wrong and that they're hiding from an audit. We can take the 5 days' notice, send a couple of people over there that have this type of background, legal and financial, and review the books. We can pick 5 a year, 10 a year, how many we need to do. Commissioner Hurd's been making this point for a long time, that we can't just specifically go on the honor system. We don't have to. But that's not what we're discussing right this moment, and I would call the question.
Commissioner Vargas.
Okay, well, I beg to differ with my colleague here. We are extending a 3-year agreement, and part of it is in Section 331, and above that also 21, that we have the right to look at the books. I don't quite understand why nobody wants to do an independent audit. I have no idea why, because that's definitely the one that, is crystal clear. We have our clerk. We certainly have our Office of Budget and Management, very capable also. But this should be done on a routine basis. But this board, previous board, has never requested this. This is baffling to me as a businesswoman. I would never conduct business like this. So who is going to spearhead to make sure that this is complied with? Because it says here 5 days. Is somebody going to write a letter because it has to be a written notice? Mr. Donaldson, will you do that? Or who's going to do that? So it's all
formal and
How do we execute the contract?
So, Commissioners, the item is simply to approve the contract. The request to provide an audit or review the books has certainly heard a lot of discussion about that. If the board requires or requests that we can do that immediately, and we can also have it set up to do routinely with this and any other contract. Typically, when we're renewing other, bidded out contracts, our relationship with nonprofits, we don't have a lot of them, but often the contracts are fairly simple in the delivery of the service. Certainly, our general services goes out there on a regular basis and observes the service being delivered. We didn't feel the necessity to go and look at the books for the accounting of the receipts in terms of visitors and such. We get some statistics from them related to tourism and the other things, but in specific to this contract, absolutely, we can go there and look at it in one of two ways. The simple method is go examine the books and look at historical views of collection of fees, and then, if necessary, if this board is interested, to have a more thorough audit and engaging the clerk or other services that would beyond looking at the books, would be, comparing receipts and other things to see how well the books are managed. So I think my suggestion would be that if we're going to look at this, to simply do an analysis of what is the typical receipts, how much you can account for in terms of funds that are received other than our fees for it, and provide that in a report back to the board.
Commissioner Vargas?
Okay, yes, it has to be done thoroughly. It just can't, be skimming over and maybe we'll look at this, maybe we won't look, everything. Everything should be looked at, absolutely. We are footing the bill for $1.8 million renovation. This says that they can hold on to all income. This is part of the contract. Also is part that we have the right to look at their books, their records, their expenditures, their income. This is what the taxpayers want. I get calls all the time from people who say, what are you doing with our money? So this is why I'm sitting up here. This is part of why we are all up here, because they're counting on us to toe the line. So who is going to spearhead this, give the written notice, because this is what it requires? Is it going to be our attorney? Who is it going to be?
So, Commissioners, if there's direction from the board of to do an assessment in accordance with the contract, we will do that. If you want a more detailed formal audit, I would need more specific direction than's been given.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you. As the motion maker, I will adjust my motion to include the opportunity to set up an appointment for someone from legal, someone from finance, and hopefully with our clerk, we can have someone come as an independent auditor from our comptroller's responsibilities to sit with the folks at the Historical Society, open their books. You know what I think we'll find? That we'll be amazed at how they're able to do so much with so little. And remember, it's not an audit, an official audit, I'm not in favor of, because the $4,000 that they're asking for as an increase would be completely decimated in the cost of an audit. It's way more than $4,000. So if they asked exclusively for a small amount of $4,000, I get it's taxpayer dollars. However, looking at the books, and then if we want, not just with this group, in the future, we can start to put on a regular basis. I have no problem. They didn't say we couldn't look at their books, as well as the fact that we're not in a cost sharing. We write them a check for now hopefully $96,000 to do a service, to maintain these facilities for us, and then open them up to the public to see them. When we went through this exercise with the Humane Society, and everyone said we shouldn't be writing a check for $600,000 or $700,000 or $800,000, I don't remember the specific number for the Humane Society. When we reviewed and went through, okay, we should do it internally, it would have been well over $2 million for us to do that. And if we went through the same exercise with these two facilities, and the other things that they do, bringing school children in, all of the niceties of what we've discussed this morning, it would cost us way more than this. And you know what big the donations that they get, these grants that they get, they're gotten because it's a not-for-profit. And if the government took this, first off, all due respect to our staff, I haven't heard any of our staff interested in taking this over. Just the idea of getting new events and now they have UFO and they had Tutankhamun. Our staff's not going to go around and know how to go out into the world and get these facilities. I can't believe we're beating up on one of the jewels of Martin County today. It's very, very frustrating.
Commissioner Capps.
I'd just like to say thank you to the Historical Society of Martin County for your willingness to operate and take care of the House of Refuge, one of the great jewels of Martin County. We appreciate the work that you do. I support the extension of the contract, and when it comes to this audit issue, I would be concerned about the precedent and what this would mean for all of the other small nonprofits. Would they all have to be audited if they receive a penny of taxpayer funds? I can see bigger departments being worthy of audits, but little small budgets for small nonprofits, I don't see the need to go that far with it. So I support the extension.
There's a motion. Is there a
I
second?
will amend my second to the inclusion
There's a
of,
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We will now take a 10-minute break. We are back taking up our 10 o'clock preset, which is Department 5, which is a request for approval of the energy and energy-related operational savings project, contract, and financial terms with Train. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sean Donahue, General Services Director. So we introduced this project over 2 years ago at an energy kind of a summary that we did with the board. And that's where we looked at the Cummings Library, the jail, and a whole bunch of other potential energy savings projects across the county. Since then, we've publicly advertised and selected Train as our consultant for this project, and they went through back in 2004 up to now and scrutinized about every square inch of this county, of all the buildings, all the outside lighting, all the inside lighting, all the HVAC systems, anything that dealt with energy or operational savings, they took a look at with us. We have scrutinized that data over the last 6-8 months. And really put our pencils to the paper and came up with a very, very good project. This has both energy savings to the tune of a little over $200,000 a year, plus operational savings. And what that means is kind of offsetting future expenses by replacing old, inefficient systems with brand-new systems that will last twice as long as the previous systems, thereby offsetting the operational expenses down the road. So it's a good project. It's been studied. It's had great results, or will have great results. And the beauty of this whole system is that it's guaranteed by Train to work. Train has put their skin in this game, and they have to come up. This project has to come up with operational energy savings. If it doesn't, Train's on the ticket to fund that overage.
Train's on the ticket. That's funny.
So,
And this is not without precedent. We have
done
contracted
this
with
several times
Train,
before. Yes, ma'am.
And also, they were required to, they had to guarantee savings, and they have honored those requirements each time we've partnered, correct?
Yes. And that's a great lead-in. I'll hand it over to Mr. Steve Corson of Train, and he'll go through some kind of the history of where we are now and how we got here.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate your consideration. For the record, Steve Corson with Train. I'm joined by two of my teammates, Jerry Shugart, our account manager, and Aldo Melgarejo, our pre-construction manager. As Sean mentioned, the project started in 2023 with a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners with opportunities for additional conservation and a review of the previous projects that the county has performed that have created over $50 million in total savings. We were selected through a competitive selection process with a request for qualification, performed a investment grade audit at risk at no cost to the county, and are here to present the recommendations. And we'll go over the project summary briefly and then ask for your approval of staff recommendation. First, in terms of motivation and timing, we feel strongly about the project. It leverages the leadership that Martin County has demonstrated. It'll preserve the quality of the coastal lifestyle that's unique to Martin County. It will continue to reduce operating costs, standardize facility operation, and really defend against a lot of cost increases that are planned and coming in terms of utility costs and other cost increases that we see around the bend. Again, we've had the pleasure of working for the county on 4 previous projects. All have been successful, dating back to 2007, and we look forward to the opportunity to perform this project for you, which we'll review shortly. We looked at over 65 facilities countywide. We're recommending upgrades to LED lighting for interior fixtures in selected facilities and also exterior pole lighting fixtures throughout the county. We'll be doing water conservation upgrades for domestic water fixtures at selected facilities throughout the county. One of the 2 key aspects of the project is to replace aging equipment that's due for replacement and would require capital spend at the public safety complex. And instead of replacing those air-cooled chillers, which are expensive and not particularly efficient, will be connecting to the jail chiller plant, which was designed for the capacity to include the public safety complex when those chillers were at their end of service life, which is now. We'll also be adding a second generator to the jail chiller plant to give it more resiliency and reliability. Cummings Library is the second focus of the project. That has all original air conditioning that is also at its replacement interval. We'll be upgrading from direct expansion split systems to a chilled water system, which provides a much better service level, much better quality, comfort, and much better environment to preserve that facility and all the resources that are there. We'll be upgrading energy management systems for the public safety complex, for the jail chiller plant, and for Cummings Library. And we'll be using a analytics approach that's built into the energy management system to provide energy savings for the courthouse complex, for this building, and also for Blake Library. As Sean mentioned, it provides over $200,000 a year in energy savings and additional life cycle and operational savings. The project is cash flow positive over the 15-year term. It'll be financed by Bank of America, and the energy savings are guaranteed by Train. Again, this is a cash flow chart that shows the $2 million in total cash flow surplus over the 15-year project term. This leverages the previous projects that are performed by the county, and those are shown below. It actually adds to the total savings and impact from the projects to create over $61 million in total project savings that have been completed and provided by the energy projects that Martin County has performed. This is an excellent public-private partnership. It's good public policy. It allows you to create savings from existing budgets before you reach for capital needs. We are certainly excited about the opportunity and appreciate your consideration, and would encourage you to move for approval of the staff recommendation for the project. Thank you very much.
Questions for Mr. Corson? Questions for Mr. Donahue? Ms. Murley?
Stephanie Murley, Director of OMB here. Just to let you know a little bit about the financials regarding this project, this would be considered a budget neutral project. We're going to be using our current department FARBs, general services FARBs that we're already planning to do these projects anyway, as well as guaranteed project savings over the course of the loan. So with that, we are doing a borrowing today, and I have Jay Glover here from our financial advisor from PFM, who helped us with the rates for the master tax exempt lease, as well as Dwayne Draper here, our bond counsel, in order to execute these documents, just as a matter of introduction, if you have any questions for that.
Okay, thanks. Good morning.
Morning, Jay Glover from PFM. We are the county's financial advisor on debt-related matters. And I'll just give you just a brief summary of the actual financing proposal that's before you. As was mentioned, we're proposing this through a master lease agreement with Bank of America Public Capital Corp. In order to procure them, we actually went out and got multiple quotes. The county has two existing master leases in place, one with J.P. Morgan and one with Bank of America. Given that, we thought it would be a streamlined process and reduce the cost of issuance if we actually used one of those existing agreements, because you would not be renegotiating a new agreement. So we got quotes from both of those entities. Bank of America provided the lowest interest rate of 4.047%. That's a 15-year repayment, as was mentioned, to match the savings generated from the project. I will also mention that that rate is held through a closing date of August the 22nd, so it eliminates any risk of rising interest rates in what is the current volatile market conditions. And the other point I'll mention is the loan is prepayable for the first 8 years with a 2% premium, and then thereafter it's prepayable at par without a penalty. So that's just a general overview of the financing vehicle, and if you have questions about the legal agreement that you're being asked to approve, again, Dwayne Draper from Bryant Miller, all of your bond counsel, is here as well.
Questions for Mr. Glover?
You brought out the heavy hitters.
Thank you. Commissioner Capps?
Do other local governments use your services in these types of contracts?
Yes, absolutely. We've executed over $300 million of guaranteed performance contracts in Florida and throughout the country, great amount. So it's a very strategic tool for cities and counties to use to allow projects that have a return and energy savings to pay for themselves.
Move approval.
Second.
Anything else, Commissioner Campy?
I know that when we see Mr. Corson and Mr. Draper, the county's going to save money, so I'm glad to see you.
Any other commissioner comments, questions? Anyone from the public like to address us? This is not a public hearing, but you're certainly welcome to address us. Seeing none, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We will now move on to our 11 o'clock preset, which is emergency shelter designation for sexual predators or sexual offenders. Public hearing number 2.
Commissioners, if we could just take a quick break to make the signatures, and then our clerk can be on her way, and we'll take this item up as soon as we're done.
Signing or just the chair?
Just the chair.
Let's keep going. Will you sign?
Well, let me just, is the document ready to sign?
We'll go behind the chambers here.
Just take a second. Huh?
Okay. Tell him. Say it for the record.
So we're going to take a 1-minute break here, and we'll resume in 1 minute.
You're on.
Thank you. We are back, taking up public hearing number 2, which is a public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending sections 51.2 definitions and 51.4.c.1 violations, creating section 51.13 for emergency shelters.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Petrick, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I have with me present today is General Counsel Bernie Romero from the Sheriff's Office, as well as Major Josh Kloster and Captain Jason Ward. They are here as they've worked with me on this as well. So before you today, and this has been advertised, it was advertised on August 1st, 2025, is an amendment to Chapter 51. Chapter 51 handles our disaster and emergency management plans. Encompasses in there is when we operate our shelters. Could be for a hurricane, could be for inclement weather. So what we're doing here today, it's an amendment to certain aspects of this chapter, and it's addressing the sex offenders and the sexual predators and where they would be going when the shelters are opened up. As you may be aware, as of 2024, the county has 152 sexual offenders and 15 sexual predators. The Sheriff's Office is designated with handling them and their registrations. So what is before you today, within Chapter 51, Section 51.2 is the definitions, and that merely adds the definition of a sex offender or a sexual predator. Section 51.4.c.1 just addresses for language in there in case something is more than just a violation. Now, the heart of this presentation to you, this ordinance, is 51.13. What this ordinance does is that if a sex offender or sexual predator comes to an emergency shelter, they are required to notify law enforcement or staff who is at the shelter of their status. They must provide their name and date of birth along with their identification, and they have to complete and sign any required paperwork. This ordinance also would allow that law enforcement could assign that sexual offender or predator to a certain specific area. That means if they have another location, whether it's the jail, whether it's the courthouse, whether there's a specific shelter designated for sex offenders, law enforcement or staff will require that offender to go to that location. If for some reason there isn't an alternate site, then they would tell that offender, you are required to remain within this specific area inside the shelter. A deputy would remain there to make sure that that offender or that predator isn't commingled with the general people that are inside the shelter. It requires that sexual offender and predator are kind of interchangeable, but that they're not allowed to enter any other areas within the shelter, that they could be asked to leave if they don't comply. And I think everything else I've explained. It does include the penalties, and this would be, in fact, a misdemeanor. Sheriff Budenseek was in contact with the State Attorney's Office, State Attorney Diamond Liddy, and the Public Defender, Mr. Beckendahl, and everybody is in agreement to prosecute these cases if a sex offender does not comply with our ordinance. So that is what is before you today, and I'll take any questions.
Questions?
Okay.
Commissioner Vargas.
I have a question. The last page says business impact estimate. What does that refer to? Am I reading this correctly?
So there is a new law that came out, I think it was last year, that for certain ordinances, you have to file a business impact statement. This has no effect on any businesses, but we still have to create that document. And it asks if this ordinance would affect local businesses, are they required to do something? This has no effect whatsoever on any sort of local businesses. It's just a document that the state requires we file.
So you will file the document to comply, and that's it?
We have published it. We did what we were required to do.
Ms. Petrick, there are some residents in Martin County who are victims of mental illness who may not have identification. In the event of an emergency, can they go to our shelters?
Yes. Just because you don't have identification, you are not precluded for coming.
Okay.
But-
We're just trying to separate sex offenders from the rest of the people in the shelter.
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions?
And is there any public comment? I think I need that as well.
Is there any public comment? I don't see any. Commissioner Heatherington?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now take up the remainder of the consent agenda, which is, let's see, consent 13, let's take up. Commissioner Heatherington.
Yes, I was just going to ask to separate consent 13 separately, and I will be recusing myself. I've filed my Form 8B because of a conflict, and if we could take that separate. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve consent 13?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, opposed. I mean, abstain. Sorry.
That motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Heatherington abstaining.
All that.
Any
I'm just
further-
testing Elise. It's her first day sitting up there.
She went and jumped out of her seat.
Is there a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we haven't done commissioner comments. You want to save them for the end of the?
Yeah, let's do it for the end today.
Okay, does that work for everybody?
come up.
Okay. Then we'll take up, let's see, public hearing. Well, want to do Neighborhood Advisory Committee appointments first?
Sure.
Donna, are we ready to go? No. Okay, let's take up public hearing number 1. If you have voting sheets, please get them to Ms. Gordon. Public hearing number 1 is a public hearing to consider adoption of the final assessment resolution for fiscal year 2026 solid waste assessment.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. It's good to be here with you again. As you stated, this is a public hearing to adopt a resolution, final resolution for the solid waste assessment. The Board of County Commissioners is required to adopt the final assessment resolution for fiscal year 2026 for the single-family solid waste assessment rates. Excuse me. On July 8th, the Board adopted the initial assessment resolution 25-7.5 for the solid waste assessment. A notice of a public hearing has been published and mailed by first-class mail to each property owner proposed to be assessed, notifying each property owner of the opportunity to be heard this morning. The Solid Waste Municipal Service Benefit Unit, or MSBU, provides services to approximately 49,764 residential units in the county. The single-family dwelling unit rate for FY26, as proposed, for the MSBU is $464.37. This is comprised of $315.84 for collection, $119.17 for disposal cost, and $29.36 for administrative cost. The change in the amount assessed in the prior year, which was $444.69, is due to an increase in the solid waste collection rate and in the amount of solid waste generated by each household. Chris Traber, the county's Special Assessment Counsel, has reviewed the resolution and the agenda summary and confirmed that the form of each is proper. Donna, could you scroll to the recommendation, please? Thank you, dear. And staff recommendation is 3 parts. Move that the board receive public comment at this hearing. Secondly, move that the board adopt the final assessment resolution for the solid waste municipal service benefit unit. And lastly, move that the board approve and certify the special assessment roll to the tax collector. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions for Mr. Emerson? Commissioner Vargas?
Hi.
Hey.
I think on the last meeting, I asked about, it was a $400 increase. Could you refresh my mind what that was for? This is accepting that, correct?
Yes, and that is not the increase. This is what's proposed for next year is $464.37. That's an annual cost that will be on the tax bill as a non-ad valorem assessment. The actual increase from current year is $19.68.
Could you say that one more time, again?
Right, the proposed assessment for next year is $464.37. That's an annual fee.
Yes.
The increase over the current rate annually is $19.68, or 4%.
How much is that per pickup?
For pickup, that's 12.5 cents. Now, I base that on 3 collections per week, 2 garbage, 1 single-stream recycling. We also provide a service weekly on Wednesdays for yard trash. I did not include that. I just wanted to be conservative. Not everyone uses that every week, but it is a service that's provided. So the truck rolls down the street every Wednesday for that.
It goes down the street, every street?
Yes,
Once a week?
that's correct.
So whether you're putting vegetative waste out or not, the truck is still coming by your house?
Service is available,
I would
yes,
count that in. You're talking 9 cents.
right.
Any further questions? Commissioner Vargas?
Okay, Mr. Emerson, so this 464 is the one that we're talking about, the same amount. We spoke about this last time, didn't we not?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure it was the same, it wasn't an additional. It's a hardship on, some people, even though it's $20 here, $20 there, and so we have to be very, very cognizant of that, so.
Sure, and not to make light of it, but I always like to use an example.
I know,
Things
it's a
in
pizza,
perspective,
you
so-
order a pizza. I don't order pizza, but is that what it costs? I don't.
It's a cheese pizza.
Cheese pizza, I don't
yeah.
get the extra, okay. I only eat cauliflower, but anyway.
You can get a cheese pizza for $30.
19.
Depends what kind, but where he gets it from.
69 cents.
Well, maybe you can get a pizza for 19.
When was the last time there was an increase?
Every year.
But I mean,
The last time was, this current year was an increase over last year.
how much?
I don't have that
An
with me. It's
idea?
typically about 4 to 5%.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us on this matter? I don't see any. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see that. Shall we go on to public hearing quasi judicial number 1, which is a public hearing to consider adoption of an amendment to the Martin County zoning atlas from RM8 to the planned unit development for the paddock at Palm City, including a master final site plan. This is a quasi judicial public hearing. Commissioner Vargas, any ex parte disclosures?
I don't have any, but it's been filed.
Commissioner Capps?
If I have any, they have been filed.
I have them and they've been filed.
I have them and they've been filed.
I have them and they've been filed.
Excellent. Good morning, Mr. Elam. Have you provided your information and the agenda item to the clerk?
Copy of my work history and the agenda item has been turned in as Exhibit 1.
Excellent. Now, this is a quasi judicial hearing. Anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by HJA Design Studio on behalf of Finland Capital LLC for approval of a rezoning from RM8 Medium Density Residential District to a planned unit development, including a PUD zoning agreement and master final site plan for the construction of 51 two-story townhome units in 11 buildings, 6 three-story duplex units, and 1 three-story single-family home and associated infrastructure on approximately 8.6 acres of undeveloped land, resulting in a residential density of 6.7 units per acre. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The property is located on the southeast corner of Southwest Martin Highway and Southwest 30th Avenue in Palm City. The current zoning on the property is RM8 Medium Density Residential District. The future land use is medium density, which allows a maximum density of 8 units per gross acre. The residential permitted uses in RM8 include modular homes, multifamily dwellings, single-family detached dwellings, townhomes, duplex dwellings, and zero-lot line single-family dwellings. Other uses allowed in RM8 include residential care facilities and commercial and family daycares. This proposal is for a planned unit development zoning agreement, including master final site plan. PUDs are a unified development that is planned, approved, and controlled according to the provisions of a binding written document negotiated between the developer and the county as a special PUD zoning district and approved at a public hearing. The purpose of a planned unit development is to provide flexibility in applying the land development regulations in a manner which mutually benefits the county and the developer. A PUD must be consistent with Martin County's Comprehensive Growth Management Plan. Listed are some comprehensive plan requirements related to this proposal. So Comp Plan 4.13A.7, maximum building height of 40 feet, minimum of 50% of the gross land area is open space. And Policy 4.13A.74, maximum density is 8 units per gross acre. A density bonus of 10 units per gross acre may be approved on medium-density future land use sites that can demonstrate compliance with the criteria of this policy. This structure setbacks table shows a comparison of the existing RM8 zoning as compared to the setbacks of the proposed paddock at Palm City Planned Unit Development Zoning Agreement. Some additional requirements in the land development regulations require townhouses have a maximum grouping of 8 dwelling units and a minimum separation of 15 feet between the buildings. This proposed development complies with these requirements, having a maximum grouping of 5 dwelling units and a minimum separation of 15 feet between the buildings. Here's an aerial view of the proposed development site. The townhomes closest to Southwest Martin Highway up here are set back approximately 65 feet from the right-of-way. The ones on the east over here, eastward, have a 30-foot type 5 buffer, all native, and then over here along this frontage here is about 50 feet. Along the eastern side, the town homes in this area are set back approximately 100 feet from Southwest 30th. And then just to give you an idea of the placement of the development on the property, you can see rear setbacks here along the STA. Two-story, in standard RM8 zoning, a two-story setback, rear setback would be 20 feet. And you can see that, the ask here is, the ask here is on this, but you can see that what they're actually put down on here is maybe 7 feet. And then the duplexes and single-family home along the southern border where Danforth Creek is. Over here they have the retention area, and then the main entrance is also off Southwest 30th. There's an emergency exit with Knox box out onto Southwest Martin Highway also available in this proposal. Here are the development standards for the RM8 zoning district and proposed PUD. RM8 zoning requirements are 5,500 square foot minimum lot area, 50-foot minimum lot width, maximum density of 8 units per acre, 40-foot maximum height, and a 50% minimum open space. There are 2 notable caveats in the RM8 straight zoning standards. One caveat is maximum density for RM8 district may be 10 units per acre for sites meeting the affordable housing criteria set forth in policy 4.13A.7.4. The second caveat is that the minimum lot area and width requirements do not apply to zero lot line townhouses or multifamily developments on lots created after March 29, 2002. It's just an excerpt of the sheet 1 of the master final site plan. You can see the proposed density of 6.7 dwelling units per acre. The required parking spaces of 116 with 166 provided here. 25% native habitat is required, and they're providing 29.5. And the open space of 50% requirement and 55% has been provided. Benefits to the developer may include, no, sorry. This proposal for rezoning to PUD, including master final site plan, is for the purpose of constructing 51 two-story townhomes, units in 11 buildings, 6 three-story duplex units, and 1 three-story single-family home. The applicant has asked for relief on setbacks and minimum lot sizes, and the applicant has proposed public benefits that include a donation of $50,000 to Palm City CRA improvements on Map Road, as well as $50,000 for projects and/or improvements at the Hidden Oaks Middle School that would be released at the time of the first building permit. Development review staff have found the Finland Capital LLC application to comply with all applicable regulations in the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the staff report. This application was heard before the local planning agency on July 17th, and the LP voted 3-0 in favor of staff's recommendation to approve this rezoning. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning. We move the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1, and we move that the board adopt the resolution approving the rezoning from RM8 Medium Density Residential District to Planned Unit Development and approve the paddock at Palm City PUD zoning agreement, including the master and final site plan. That concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Elam? Commissioner Vargas?
So the developer is able to put more units on this lot? Because setbacks, they're asking relief from that minimal lot size, and they're having the zoning change to PUD. It's more flexible, isn't it, in that regard, from what it is now?
Yes, this proposal for townhomes and the products they have on here, they've asked for the reduced setbacks so that they can get what they've proposed here. You could easily put maximum density apartments or condos on here without any problem. So that would be 68, or if you did the provision of affordable housing, 86 units could go on this property. So their proposal is what they put forward here, which is the townhomes and duplexes. They're able to get this particular product because of the reduced setbacks.
Does the applicant have a presentation?
We do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Commission, Michael Houston with HJ Design Studio. First, I just want to thank staff for working with us on this project. Our pre-application was from 2021. And at that pre-application, one of the discussions, I have a note of it here, was we had proposed an access off of 714, and staff in that pre-application said that doesn't meet the standards for setbacks. So use 30th Street as your access. So from that point on, we pretty much have gone forward with it. Brian, have I got the changer?
I don't believe I've ever used that piece of equipment. Do you want me to turn it into a slideshow?
Yeah, please.
Much better.
Okay.
Yep, next slide. So here with me today is our team. Finland Capital, Oleg is our client. He has been a very patient client for the last 4 years as we have worked through a number of different iterations. Rick Creech and Jerry Compton are here, our civil engineers. We also have Susan O'Rourke, who's our traffic engineer, and Drew Gatewood is our environmental. So we've worked hard to navigate a number of the issues that staff has talked about. If you go to that next slide, that 2 slides. Yeah, if you can let me use the mouse, that'd be great.
Somebody is doing something.
Yeah. So when we talk about sites and we talk about infill, this probably is one of the best examples of infill that you can find. It is located across the street from Hidden Oaks Middle School. It is down the street from Palm City Elementary. It's in biking or driving distance to 2 publics. Across the pond is a new community, Magnolia Ridge, which are duplexes, commercial property to our west, and we'll be talking about that shortly, about access. and some discussions we've had with them on access. This is one of the last pieces in Palm City that has this size. There's some small pieces along Map Road, but has this size and has the ability to provide housing, and we think a great mix of housing. This is the first project we've done where we had both duplex and townhouses together, and I think in a way that really functions well. So staff has walked you through the land use. You can see that the commercial to the west of us is it's to the west of us. And then on the land use side, the second map, it pretty much parallels Danforth Creek, which is the southern boundary of our property as well, and it's the boundary of their property. When we begin a project, we always try to say, how would it be if we lived there? And we want to design it as best as we can and find the best solution possible for the developer, for the community, for the people that are going to live there. And that's how seriously we take this, because this will be people's homes. So here gives you an example, particularly this is looking from the south, looking north, of how much Palm City has infilled. I was involved with Martin Downs. It was the first project I ever worked with in 1980-something. And you can see how the Palm City has infilled tremendously. So this piece, Palm City Presbyterian, is to our east. There's one vacant piece along Berry Road. And then you get to Danforth, Palm Pike Crossing, which is on the other side of High Meadows, and then a lot of development in this area. So this really fits in with what we would call urban infill. Now on the south side of Danforth Creek, and one of our neighbors is here, is a very different pattern, and that's on Horseshoe Trail. Large lots, very much Old Palm City, and but the Danforth Creek separation is pretty significant. Let's see if I can go the right way here. So when you start a site plan in Martin County, you begin with a couple of things. First off, you look at your roads, and in this case, you can see 714 is on the right. This graphic is facing north, is to the right, not straight up. 30th Street is up at the top of this. So you look at access, you look at the preserve, and in this case, the best habitat was in the northern portion of the property, and the preserve is intended to be contiguous. That's the goal of preserve area management plans, is that it is not fragmented. This is how the comp plan describes it. It's not fragmented, it's not splintered, it's connected. So you can see, we said, well, this is a great spot for it. The trees are great, and it buffers us from the commercial to the west. Let's put that there. The entrance on 30th Street, which we will talk about in a few minutes, that's a discussion about where the existing right-of-way goes. And in Martin County, you have to have 50 feet of right-of-way to be a legal road, 60 feet if it's a swale section. In this case, it's 50 feet. Where our entrance is where that right-of-way stops. So from there, it becomes 30 feet. 30 feet is from the 1910s, 1920s. It's an old plat that has been there forever. When Flora started their project to the north or to the west of us, this was a dirt road. Gravel, dirt, something like that. And so they dedicated property, we dedicated property. They paved it, they've curbed it. I think we did utilities together, although Marcella may talk a little bit more about that. I thought the utilities were a combination. So that's where that entrance happens. So we have preserve. We actually exceed the preserve number because some changes that have happened along the way. And then the other issue you have to deal with is stormwater. You're along Danforth Creek. You have to make sure that you have capacity to handle storms. I don't know that Danforth Creek has come out of its banks. It's a pretty deep creek, but it could. So the stormwater design becomes important as well. And then the aesthetics. And so DOT dug this pond. This was built, dug when 714 was widened. And it's a pretty regular shape, but it's still attractive. Those two pumps are supposed to be working, although I've heard that there are some issues with keeping those clean. But so what we've done is we've said, let's put the houses on the pond, the townhouses. Let's put the townhouses on the preserve, and then let's put the duplexes, which are the 3 brown buildings you see on the left, let's put those on the creek. This is a nice layout. Everybody in this community is going to have a nice view. It's very walkable. So instead of having our access off 714, which we initially proposed, it became our emergency access. So you see on the site plan up at 714, paved area. That allows fire access, that allows EMS access, but it isn't a vehicular access for us. It's a great pedestrian access, though. And so all the kids that live in this neighborhood, which I think will be many, will be able to walk up the sidewalk on our street to that connection and then go across the street to the middle school or go across the street and walk down to the elementary school. So this is the emergency exit. One of the things that happened over the last 6 months is that we had to change the design of the turnaround there, which is the little hammerhead. When we did that, it had opened up for us to expand our preserve. So what used to be just planted is now preserve on what would be our northwest corner of 30th and 714. So we've expanded the preserve. You can see the 50-foot dimension. That's the minimum that we can have. And then we've added a lot of native plant material to screen from 714, screen our neighborhood, and also to make the drive along 714 attractive. This is going down to Danforth, and we have a clubhouse with a pool, and you can see the duplexes there, which are going to be on the creek. These are the units along the preserve. And as I mentioned, we've increased the preserve area by the buffer. So part of the discussion that's happened since last week, and we understand this discussion is a valid discussion, we're not discounting it, is the distance between the southerly entrance to the Flora site, which is a food distribution facility across the street. And if you look at the site plan, on the other side of the project from us is their site plan. They have 2 entrances, beautifully done building. The front of the building is done as a retail feel to it. The back is distribution, and I think this is mostly food distribution. Our entrance in the concept that's in front of you was a gated entrance with a split island in the middle. What we have determined in the last week of discussion is that we can get rid of the gates and make that entrance just a 2-lane entrance, which allows us to push the entrance further to the south. You'll hear conversation from county engineer and our engineer that this was safe, that this separation was reasonable, and that it was acceptable. But we also understand the concern of Flora across the street, that they do not want to have conflicts between the trucks and the cars. And if we can add more distance, we will. The limitation of going much further than to where we show the one entrance is the right-of-way width. And again, your right-of-way width requires 50 feet. There's only 30. I think we're dedicating 10. And you can see in this graphic, we're dedicating 10. That means it's 40. That means you need 10 more feet from the other side. Or you, as the commission, needs to say to Mike Rozelka, as the county engineer, we're okay with this being undersized to be able to shift these over a little bit. So if that's the case, we have the ability to shift over a little further, but at the very least, we think we can come over, and I'll show you in a picture in a minute and see where we would match that. But this is the important graphic to look at. At one point, we did try to do an entrance behind Flora's office building, which they also have food distribution in the back of that, and the stacking distance from 30th to 714 wasn't enough. And, this is a small road. There's only 2 or 3 owners here, but they do have trucks and we do have residents. So the stacking is part of the discussion, when you have that situation. So key question for today. And by the way, we're comfortable as a condition that we would, for the commission as a condition, that we would work with them on shifting that down. We don't want to have to come back to the commission for it, but we think we can find a way to amicably solve that access question. So here's the situation we have right now. This is yesterday. So that's their building. That's their entrance. Today, it's a curb and gutter. This used to be a gravel or sand or something. Our property's on the right. We're going to be giving 10 feet, dedicating 10 feet there, and we're going to be building a sidewalk. So, and that'll be along the edge of those trees. We're keeping those trees, which are a part of our preserve. This gives you a little sense of the separation. So there is their building to the right, and this little sand drive is an access that goes to I think it actually went to a former house, but this is about where our entrance would be, about. So we're trying to pretty much go across the street or close to across the street, call it a street, from that little driveway, and you can see the separation from us to Flora starts to get pretty decent. And really the goal here, and Marcella will speak on it, is just to have people be able to see each other easily and not have any conflicts that happen with cars. Here is it from further back right at our entrance. It does look like we got to move a telephone pole, or somebody's going to have to move a telephone pole. And the Flora facility, again, other just the aesthetics of the building, they've gone through hoops to make their drainage work. They've elevated their building. They've got pretty good visibility when you come out on that corner, or I wouldn't spend so much time talking about it. And that is why, we think they've got room for people to be able to navigate each other pretty easily. One of the amenities of this project is this right here. This is Danforth Creek. This portion of it doesn't appear to have been cleared for a while. As you go further up, it gets more of that. This is a trail system that the county uses for maintenance, a road trail. It will also be a pedestrian way for us, for the residents. It is very attractive. You can see the trees on the right. Those are all on the south side of Danforth, and they are beautiful, beautiful oaks and pines, some really big pines. This is just a detail of how that looks. And so the county keeps Danforth maintained along this whole length using this area. Here's the pond, and at one point, and I mentioned this to some of the commissioners, we were going to offer, and staff had actually come up with the idea, environmental department, of planting the lake, because there's nothing on the lake right now. It's FDOT dug it. They have maybe some littoral plants right there in the foreground, but that's about it. So we were going to do that, and then all of a sudden, DOT said, well, we're going to take 714. So that came off of our plate as a PUD benefit. It was going to be a benefit, but anyway. So this is what it looks like today. To the right is Magnolia Ridge. Duplexes to the left is our property, and I'm standing on our property. This is the L, and I think what we're suggesting, this is looking back across, we're suggesting we're going to leave this fence in place because part of the PUD benefit was to replace the chain link fence, and without the plants being in there, we think the fence is fine. Magnolia has a different fence in some parts, but has this chain link fence. It's black PVC. It's reasonably attractive. This is the open space requirements. When you look at a project, you're saying, so what benefits are we getting? We exceed the upland, the open space by 5%. It's required 50, we're at 55. We exceed the upland preserve requirement. And one of the questions that we've discussed with you is, what is the difference between RM8 and a PUD? And so this chart shows you what the deviation is. So one of the reasons every townhouse that's come in front of this commission and the last commission has done a PUD. none of them have not done PUDs. That's because the setback requirements are substantially greater, particularly in the back. So if we walk through this, in the RM8, the minimum lot is 5,500. That's bigger than a townhouse lot. The minimum loft width is 50 feet. The duplexes are 37. The townhouses are just the width of the townhouse. So, the minimum lot width of 50 feet doesn't work. The front setback, we're close. We're at 20 feet on the townhomes. We're a little closer on the duplexes because of our design. I'll show you that in a second. So the deviation, which is on the right, 5 feet for the townhouse. That's all we're asking for. 15 feet for the duplexes. And then the single-family lot, which, by the way, is not going to be built. It's on the plan, but we will not be going forward with that single-family house. And all the duplexes, by the way, are 2 stories. Been a little confusion back and forth about 3 stories. They're not. They're 2. But you see the deviation mostly on the duplex and on the townhouses. The rear setback is 20 feet for a 2-story townhouse, 2-story duplex, and we're at 14 and 15 feet. So we're asking for 4 and 5 feet. So this much is all we're asking for. But what it does is it allows you to have reasonable sized backyards and not these super long driveways that are just too long. The maximum density in RM8 is 8. Our proposal is for 6.7. Maximum height is 40. We're going to 2 stories, and we've exceeded the minimum open space. Here's those couple of areas. So the lots, the townhouses on the pond, those are 13-foot rear setbacks versus 15. And the same thing down on that one corner of the duplex. That's the closest it gets. The other ones all meet the setback. So just some flexibility and some subtleties that are offered through this. Here's a detail. And I don't know if sometimes you don't get to this level of detail, but I think it's important. So in our project, we have 22 of the units are end units of townhouses. So this is a 4-unit building on the left, and 2 of those are end units. This is a 5-unit building on the right, and 2 of those are end units, and 3 are interior. Those end units have a 2-car garage and a substantial driveway. It's 20 by 20. The interior units have a 1-car garage and then a 12-foot driveway. We're actually probably going to be talking with staff about slightly increasing that 10 feet to a little bit wider, or that 12 feet. And then on the 4-unit, you can see that there's 2 interior and 2 exterior. So of our total number of townhouses, 22 are end units, 29 are middle units. The end units are very popular for a lot of reasons, and one of those is 2-car garage. It also probably provides a little bit more room for families. Minimum building separations, we just went through that. Single family, it's on the left, is not applicable. The 6 duplexes, 3 buildings, 6, this is how their layout works. And you can see that we have enough room for 2-car garages and also enough room for 2 cars behind it. So what could you do if you didn't do a PUD? And this is what you could do. You could do a condo, you could do an apartment complex, and the site plan we have in front of you has a common parking area, very similar to most condos and very similar to most apartments. The parking would be on the preserve, but the units would still be on the lake. So this is a realistic depiction of getting 68 units, not what we're proposing, but the total. As Brian said, there's also an alternative of affordable housing, which would allow us to get to 86 units. And if that were the case, the building in the middle becomes 3 stories. This is by right. This is not a PUD. This is just a different way of doing the project. Most people are not wanting to do condos. They'd rather have a fee simple house, townhouse, duplex, et cetera. But this is an example of what we're talking about. This is a graphic that shows you how close this is to so many things. So Hidden Oaks is literally across the street. One of the reasons, by the way, we had a challenge on our access on 714 is that there's a left turn lane. If you're eastbound, there's a left turn lane into Hidden Oaks. It's a dedicated left. You're not supposed to do a U-turn, but people could. And then there is a left after you get past Hidden Oaks that allows a U-turn. Access from the site is great. You know, it's easy to get to the Turnpike, it's easy to get to 95, it's easy to go into the city of Stewart. And you can see how far out the Old Palm City CRA comes. And, you know, that was a discussion about the PUD benefit, is the CRA is a benefit to this project. 2 Publix, 2 shopping centers. There's just a lot of great things out in Palm City here. So our PUD benefit is never easy. We just did a project that you all approved, I think unanimously, that's behind the Cracker Barrel on I-95. It's townhouses as well. There, we had the ability to create a little park, and if you drive into Cracker Barrel and stop and make immediate right, there's a small park there, and then you can park there and walk out to the river. That was a good PUD benefit. We also did some paving issues. We gave fire to EMS for them to signalize things. That hasn't presented itself with this project. That's been a lot more difficult for us to find that. So we took the money we were going to use for the lake, for the planting, for the irrigation, and we said, okay, let's see if we can help out the school. Everybody's a supporter, particularly if you go talk to the principal, of getting money to Danforth or to Hidden Oaks Middle School. The idea of $50,000 is going to blow their mind. I think Commissioner Campy may have spoken to them, but you know, they're asking for sponsorships of individual classes for $1,000. So we'd be sponsoring 50 classes. And then the CRA. That one is a little bit more general, a specific project within the CRA. We haven't had a chance to really go through that, so we're looking for the board's input on it. But that's part of it. Grant the Danforth Creek protection, we think by adding the 8-foot maintenance easement, we actually make that better. We've increased the upland preserve by the 4.5%. We've created an attractive view along 714. We're using more native vegetation the county requires. We're at 100%, and we've added additional open space. And just as importantly, we planned a well-planned community. It connects, it allows people to walk, it allows people to connect to the creek and out on 714 and across the street into the schools. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate all the hard work that staff's put in on the project. If you have any questions on the stormwater, which Rick is here to talk about, and the whole discussion about where that access point can be in terms of getting Flora a little more comfortable. And thank you.
Thank you.
Questions from Mr. Houston?
Not yet. I'll hear.
Seeing none, let's listen, let's hear from the public. I have 2 requests to speak form. The first one is for Stephen Hecht, followed by William Robb. Good morning.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Hecht, and as you can probably hear from my voice, I'm a new resident of Martin County, specifically Palm City. I've been coming to Florida my entire life, had many friends and family here, so I'm far from a carpetbagger. I have 4 young children, so naturally I chose Palm City due to its great schools, in addition to a strong sheriff department, and from what I was told, a government that fought against overdevelopment. As a retired NYPD lieutenant of over 20 years, I've seen firsthand up north what oversaturation of cookie-cutter townhomes can do to a neighborhood. They can bring an unwanted element to a neighborhood. They can also lower surrounding property values. While these townhomes certainly don't seem to be the norm here in Palm City, I'm here to say please be very careful about handing out these rezoning approvals. With this specific zoning change, the amount of townhomes allowed to be built increased by over 25%. Meanwhile, you have Magnolia built next door to this parcel, which still has vacant properties. People move to Palm City because it has a small town feel. I moved to Palm City because it has a small town feel. Please don't let this be the new normal. Thank you.
Thank you. William Robb is next, followed by Marcella Kambler.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
A couple of things. Correction for the gentleman who did the presentation. Danforth Creek has overflowed. It took out the approaches to the Berry Avenue Bridge. My dad had to push through the woods to get into Danforth so that we could get out because Hammer Creek was not built at that time, and that was the only way for us to get anywhere. So it has overflowed at times, and it does. Let's see. My concerns, obviously, the zoning allows more than what is done here. I live where it's 1 unit per 2 acres, which is just on the other side of the creek. I see that the presenter has said that the single-family home would not be built. I would like that to be codified, that that's not going to happen. That would be right behind my friend Brad's house. He would be very appreciative if he knows that it's not going to be built. 2 stories only is what I was told, because the original plan says 3 stories. I'd like that also to be made clear that that is how that's going to happen. I've seen different proposals for this area, some with many more units than what is being proposed now. Change happens, you're not going to stop it. I said my uncle actually moved out of Palm City because he didn't know everybody anymore. So, that goes to show how we've been around for a while. Traffic, the access by Flora, I would like to see it not move too far south because that access road would then be closer to my home. And, the closer you get to Danforth Creek, the closer you get to my front door. So as I understand the access, I drove a tractor trailer for quite a number of years, and I understand the problems of car-truck interactions, but I'd like to see it not moved further south more than it has to be. I like it where it is. I'd like it further north, but that would be incompatible with the use across the road. And it would also split that buffer. I mean, right now we have bobcats, we have otters, we have all kinds of stuff in there. What we have after this, we'll see. Because when they built Hammer Creek, I had alligators and everything else coming up into our pasture that we'd never had in our pasture before, but sooner or later they all ended up leaving because of the development. Excuse me, and that's what ends up happening. Traffic-wise, High Meadow 713 is scheduled to go to 4 lanes, 2 lanes each way. That's in the process. FDOT is doing a study now, and as far as traffic engineers have said, that Martin Downs and High Meadow, both intersections are at or over capacity as they are currently designed. So when you're adding more traffic to this, you're ending up with more of a problem. You have a school there, lots of problems with traffic and schools. I just want to make sure that steps are taken to make sure that this stuff is addressed.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Camblor is next. I don't have any more requests to speak forms. If you would like to address us, please fill out a form and get it to the bailiff. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Marcella Camblor with Marcella Camblor and Associates for the record, here representing FLF Palm City, which is actually the owner of the 3 properties that are directly to the west of this proposed development. One house is Villa Flora. The other one houses the Treasure Coast Distribution Center that is, I think, a few days from getting final CO after a 6-year process. And a third one, which is unbuilt, which is also with a land use of commercial general. My client does not oppose the development. In fact, they generally support it, but they have serious concerns about this access point that was shown. If you can put it up, do you mind putting the site plan up? It's hard to comprehend that this project that is being proposed that sits on a corner lot and has roughly a 1/4 mile of frontage, that the only logical place to put the access to this community that will have multiple cars coming in and out at the same time that the trucks from the existing property across the street are going out, that this was the only place to put that access. I understand that there is a gray area in the code where this 40-foot right-of-way, which is 40 feet right now, it will be 50 once they dedicate or once the other side dedicates another 10 feet, It doesn't fall under the category of your access management plan that requires, at a minimum, 150 feet separation for right-of-ways. Now, in your code, that separation obviously starts in the next category up, but local, and this is considered a local street. Your local streets are typically streets that have residences on both sides of the street, and it doesn't matter where your curb cuts are. You know, if we looked at this a little more comprehensively, which a PUD process allows you to do, and you realize you have now a lot of units accessing off of this road, and, you know, significant commercial development on the opposite side of the road, we probably should be establishing the principles that are applied in access management. Like I said, your minimum standard is 150 feet. I don't care if it's to the north or to the south. Your code also says align or separate. You know, this road was entirely built by Mr. Flora. The first portion in 2004 when he did Villa Flora. The second, anyways.
You still have 15 seconds.
Okay, the second portion, when he built the second warehouse, there's 30 feet of asphalt where the road starts. This next down to 20 feet. This development is not even proposing to widen that. And I have, for the record, some photographs of what a car would look like and how there would not be room for trucks if this happens there. I don't know. You can show them because I don't have a slide. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address us? Mr. Hetherington.
I have a couple questions. Some might be for staff and some might be for the applicant, so, Michael. So, I wrote down a couple notes while you were talking. Originally, was there a requested access off of 714?
Yeah, in 2001.
In 2001, there was a requested access and the DOT denied it?
The staff, county, at that time it was county road, and the county staff said it doesn't meet the standards.
So it hasn't been requested to DOT?
What staff said was Martin Highway is a major arterial with an access classification of 4 and requires a minimum of 440 feet for access connection spacing. Therefore, an access along Southwest Martin Highway is not permitted. The property must use Southwest 30th Avenue for access.
Okay, so on to, I might come back to that, but on to buffers. The buffer in the front, the landscape buffer,
Put up our site plan or whatever.
between the townhouses and 714, what's the distance between,
Preserve width is 50 feet, and then there's a little bit of a setback.
so would be the boundary between the townhouses and 714? So the landscape there where the emergency exit is,
Yeah.
how wide is that landscape buffer?
It's 50 in a preserve and then 10 additional on the one corner. And then on the south side where the preserve is broken by the road, and so that's not preserved, that's 65 feet wide.
Okay,
You
so the preserve is 65 feet from the edge of the townhouse to 714, and the landscape is 50 feet.
Anna, can you help him?
Yeah, you might have a,
On here,
No, the other version is better if you just make it a slideshow.
Yeah, go back to this one.
Make it a
Yes,
slideshow.
or just enlarge it.
that's what happened when I did a slideshow.
Then zoom it in.
Okay, well, I can keep going while you're doing that, but, so that, the buffer on the back side, which would be the south side, where the duplex is, and the single-family home is proposed to Danforth Creek, what is the landscape with, on the landscape plan, how wide is that landscape from the duplexes, the backside to Danforth Creek? Oh, you zoomed too far. Go to the townhouses.
if you go zoom back in, we'll answer your question, Commissioner. Can you zoom back in again?
Where am I going?
To the 714 buffer? Well, that's
30 foot type
Yeah, so it's 60
5 buffer.
65 feet, 65.3 feet from the edge of building N to the
Okay.
property line.
And the landscape is a 30-foot type.
On that side, it's a 30-foot buffer. On the
Now go to the rear of the property.
And the other side is preserved, by the way. And there's some great softball meadows in there that we're preserving. So you could see the minimum is duplex H, which gets down to 16 feet,
18.
18 feet?
18?
Yeah. And it gets bigger as it goes
Oh, wait,
further up.
maybe that's the,
Yeah. So that's the minimum one, is building duplex H.
so what, my question is, you're buffering your townhouses from 714, but my concern is you're not buffering the backside of the properties. I understand the creek is there, but you showed some nice pictures of the creek, and it's just a piece of grass. So
No, those landscape trees those will all be planted. So we'll be planting, not in the maintenance easement, but just outside of it. So all of those trees plus, because this came off the landscape plan, we'll be buffering that. So it's a pretty good landscape area, and then across on the other side of the creek is very dense on Bill's property and on his neighbors.
So from duplex F across the creek, there's existing vegetation buffering that right now?
Super dense vegetation on their side. On our side, it's open and it's grass, because that's where the trucks access it. We'll plant it, but not plant it where it gets in the way of the truck access. And I would guess, Commissioner, that is probably a 50-foot setback from the,
Between duplex F and,
yeah.
okay, and then I had not thought of this until you all were doing your presentation, and you talked about the sidewalk and the right-of-way. You're putting a sidewalk. Now, I like that it's near a school and there are families that could walk, but the sidewalk, is there a sidewalk that goes through the neighborhood and exits? Oh, there is, yes.
You can see it right there.
Excellent. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, that was
Because I would prefer the sidewalk going through the neighborhood, exiting to 714 versus pushing out pedestrian traffic onto that commercial road.
That's the sidewalk out on 30th is probably the secondary sidewalk. You're right. They're probably taking up 714.
Okay. I wasn't sure there was one internally, so thank you for answering that. I might have some more questions.
Yeah.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you very much. I agree with Commissioner Heatherington. During your presentation, it hops things up, which I guess is part of the process. To expedite the conversation, I would agree with the resident that was asking to make sure, Mr. Houston, you said that there would be no single-family home, that's part of the project has been eliminated. Can we make that an actual thing so that?
Condition of approval? Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you also said that you and I had a conversation that there was no 3 stories, but in the presentation from staff, it mentioned a couple of times that there were 3 stories, so, and now you said again in your presentation that there wasn't. I'd like to also have it written that there's no 3 stories. In regards to, the biggest conversation prior to today was about the entrance and the safe compatibility of your across-the-street neighbors and this new project. I did have an opportunity to meet with Mr. Flora and his representatives, and I will say that for those folks that are not familiar with what we're talking about, Villa Flora is on Martin Highway. It's got some professional businesses. I always use that as an example of what quality projects look like. And behind it, he runs, most people had no idea, but behind it, he runs his provision business, which is Boar's Head Trucks. He has, in the last year or so, I know it's taken several years, but in the last year, the building on 30th Street has been completed, and again, he did a very nice architectural job on the street side, but on the back side, you really get to figure out what that building's all about. It's all loading bays. It's a small little building designed specifically, I would imagine, for his own business, the provisions business, which is, for some people that are not for, lunch meats and cold cuts, Boar's Head products. So I think, and they were there, I think he's been there for nearly 25 years. So that, to me, tips the scales in favor of you as the representative of this applicant, figuring out what's appropriate for them. They were there first. So I know that you and I had a conversation that said you could work with Ms. Camblor to figure out a more beneficial way for them and you. Theirs is done, yours is still in the design phase. But beyond just figuring it out amongst the two sides now, it's important that when this neighborhood is constructed, that residents that are leaving, especially teenage drivers are leaving, you don't come to your entrance, make a right, and then drive for 10 or 12 feet, and then immediately on the left-hand side is the potential of large trucks. Now, if you were in commercial and industrial and they were, it's all professional drivers. On one side, it's professional drivers, and I asked him what the frequency of vehicles coming and going. Some, 2 or 3 times a week, there's tractor trailers, and the rest of the time, they're throughout the day are smaller sort of box trucks. We don't want to approve and create a situation where residents and average, citizens say, who came up with this idea? It just doesn't look like it would match. So you have given me your commitment, and I've spoken to the representative for Mr. Flora, that you guys will work this out. I would agree, and I hope my colleagues would as well. It doesn't necessarily, for you to engineer an appropriate solution to this, I don't think needs to come back to the board. We have staff that can review it. You guys can come to amicable terms. I also heard what the resident said to try to keep it from going further down or south on 30th any more than is necessary. That would be important. And to my neighbor and fellow law enforcement, New Yorker who is a retired law enforcement, I agree with you. But the version of this, and I hope your takeaway will be the same, that they are legally allowed to do much more than what is here. It could have been nearly 90 units if they follow this new law that's been approved, this live local kind of vibe, or even without that, if they had just gone with straight zoning, which would never have turned into this type of a meeting with the residents having a say, it would have been straight zoning, which is what we tried to work on further up Martin Highway across from Danforth. Can't continue to be pulling, so can't continue to do things like this. So what we try to do as a county with our staff is work with, and Mr. Houston is a longtime local professional who, this is where they live too, try to create a situation where people still have property rights. Someone owns this property and is allowed to utilize it as they see fit, but the community should have some say. So when Commissioner Hetherington talks about the distance of these buffers and these things like that, in the front, that 50-foot buffer, I was just trying to figure out logically, 50 feet is approximately where we're sitting out to the end of the length of this room. And so if you're on the sidewalk at Hidden Oaks Middle School and you're looking back at these properties, this is how much of a landscaped buffer. It would be the full length of this room before you would start to see that development. So I agree with you. It would be perfect. Everyone would love it if we built nothing else. But when we are going to allow people to have their property rights, I like this kind of PUD where we at least have a little more say. We had an agenda item recently where we didn't have any say, and it was just coming in straight, and we were getting very frustrated by what could and could not happen, but our hands were tied, and that's when our legal department says, well, you're not allowed to do that, and you're not allowed to do that, and you're not allowed to do that. So with that in mind, and then lastly, on the public benefit. Now, when I first took this seat, I remember hearing about the public benefit for PUDs, and to me, it sounded a little bit like a shakedown, extortion, if you're the applicant. However, I said it sounded like that. I didn't say it was. It just seems like, hey, we're going to extract something from every applicant. Now, if you're a member of the community, it starts to be like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Canopy Creek is on Martin Highway across from Pindar Nursery. That was part of a much bigger piece of property, and when they came with their PUD, what they donated was 50 acres on the other side of what is now Citrus Boulevard. 25 of those acres is Citrus Grove Elementary School, and 25 of those acres is Citrus Grove baseball fields. That was a 50-acre donation, PUD benefit from the applicant, which I thought was terrific. Quite often, they're like, oh, we'll put a sidewalk in, or in this case, they said, well, we're going to enhance that pond or the lake there. That's an enhancement and a benefit for them, not really for anybody else. No one's driving past that and saying, oh, I wish this was more heavily landscaped. What I think is brilliant, and I appreciate it very much, is right across the street is Hidden Oaks Middle School. They could always use money. I was there this week for the start of the school year, and had a conversation with their principal, and mentioned, without getting into the details, because I don't know if you're guaranteed a yes today or not, but they were thrilled, because maybe we use the money to redo their outside basketball facility there, which tons of kids used. And then in terms of the other $50,000 for the CRA along Map Road, because this is a project that will have an effect on everyone that lives in Palm City. And so I liked that half the money went along Map Road, which you can see we're doing a lot of work there. The advantage of putting it through the CRA is that we have an NAC board, a board of about a dozen local volunteers that vet all of the decisions of whatever dollar is spent within the CRA. So it's not like you're giving the money to me to spend on things for the community. It will go through the NAC process and then the CRA process and potentially come to us if it had to. So that's why I liked the splitting of the money instead of giving all of it to Hidden Oaks Middle School. And so those are my concerns. Oh, the last thing is the sidewalk on 30th. I know you said that was part of the deal, and I know maybe if we could speak to our engineer, I don't see a necessity for across the street on the western side is completely commercial trucks. And then on the left, as Commissioner Hetherington said, you'll have the ability to walk right through the center of this neighborhood to a pedestrian to get to Hidden Oaks or even just to Martin Highway. If you're going to the park or you're going to the whatever, there's no reason to duplicate that sidewalk just west of it because no one will walk on it. I would rather see, if possible, that the road is either leave additional buffer or widen that section of road. It's probably less expensive to widen the road than to put a sidewalk down and make it a little more accessible for trucks and residential vehicles that might be passing each other, as a suggestion. But the no single-family home, the no three-story, that has to be how it happens. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Thank you.
And I'd like to hear from Mr. Grzelka telling us what we can and cannot do about offsetting the intersection so that there isn't competition between the commercial property to the west and this proposed residential property.
Okay, for the record, I'm Michael Grzelka, the county engineer. The offset, if we try to push the driveway farther to the south, the big thing that's going to happen is the board has to authorize the variance for the right-of-way width, which, as the properties on the north side get developed, we will require them to donate that property at that point in time, but we don't have the ability to force them to donate something that.
On the north side, you mean the west side?
I'm sorry, west side, yeah, I'm looking at the drawing here.
So we're looking
Which way I'm looking at it.
at 10 feet on each side?
Yes, yeah, it's currently a 30-foot right-of-way. The Flora side, when they came in with their development, donated 10 foot down that side. This property is donating 10 foot all the way down. There are two property owners still on the west side that are separate there. One is the Flora, and the other is a single-family lot, if you will. It's got a single-family house on it. That actually goes all the way through to High Meadows.
And are those the same owner?
No, they're two separate owners there.
Mr. Flora owns the third lot down, and then there's a separate owner.
So we can't possibly conjecture about what the single-family owner will or will not do.
Correct.
All we can do is speculate about what Mr. Flora will or will not do.
Correct.
Seems kind of iffy to me.
Well, the only thing about it is that single-family home is the only other on that side of the road. I've been down this street many times. It's nothing back there. It's 2 or 3 homes. There's a large pieces of property, but it's not like it's a Berry Avenue or one of these other streets. I mean, the whole thing back there represents about 2 or 3 people.
It's actually all one parcel. and it wraps around the other parcel that Flora owns.
Yeah.
And like I said, it connects, it fronts on 30th and fronts on High Meadows.
And also, another concern I have is the public benefits. They seem gratuitous to me. I'm not going to support these public benefits. It sounds like a shakedown. It sounds, if you can't find a project that you need to address, if there's not a public benefit, then okay, how about I hand you $50,000 cash, and we're not designating where the $50,000 is going. And it's not even in the CRA.
That's true.
So just handing checks, blank checks to people, do with this what you will, is not a public benefit. We need to be more responsible with find projects that need to be built. Mr. Walden, is that you, or?
Yes, I was just going to mention what you've already addressed with Mr. Grzelka as far as the roadway variance. The other things we can handle with the PUD agreement, we can add those to the motion and handle the going to two-story requirement and the single-family home being removed. And if it's anything beyond just tightening up the entryway, that gets a little complicated as far as handling in a post environment with the staff and the re-engineering of the product. But if the board is amenable to that, we can make that happen. It would be ideal if we could do it within the constraints of the existing entryway and just tighten that up like it was suggested, to create a little bit more, I think another 30 feet of separation there, but if
It just has to be offset, right?
yeah, it meets the county requirements right now. So if we were to increase it by another 30 feet by tightening up the entryway, that's a lot easier fix for the engineering and staff for handling
Explain
in
what you
post.
mean by tightening up.
That's what I was going to ask.
The
Yes, let me
entryway.
try, because if we didn't do detail of this, but can you guys see the entrance and the graphic that's up?
Yeah.
It has a teardrop in the middle island. The only reason that has that is because it has gates in this design, and you have to have the ability to do a U-turn. Those gates are coming out. So the entrance could go as far south as you see here. And you'll see, Commissioner Hurd, the little hatching that's on 30th Street, that's where the right-of-way disappears, or doesn't disappear, it's 30 feet. It'll be 40 with our dedication. So you can push this entrance over a decent amount without even going into that space. But it'll be two lanes without a.
Ms. Elder.
Elise Elder, Acting County Attorney. Sorry about that. Elise Elder, Acting County Attorney. If the board is going to entertain a variance for the right-of-way width, that is a public hearing that requires notice, and that would have to be done before the board can approve this project, because you can't approve a project with a right-of-way width variance that we don't have yet. So that's the only thing, if we're doing the right-of-way width variance, it's a public hearing that needs to be noticed.
These graphics are pretty accurate. I don't think we're getting into that right-of-way area with what Pete just described. We're just shifting it over as far as we can to the south, using the existing corridor. And Commissioner Hurd, if there's a specific project in the CRA, we would love to tag it to that so we can put our plaque on it. It says this project was part of it. Just like the downtown birds in Stewart, my plaque is on one of those, along with a partner of mine, for Smith's Beautiful Birds of Stewart.
I have a project in my CRA. This is not in the Palm City CRA, so.
It's just as eligible as Palm City is for me.
If I'm not mistaken, where's the location site?
It's in Palm City.
Oh, there you go. That's first.
Not in the CRA.
Secondly, here's a suggestion. I appreciate what you're saying, and in an effort to try to constantly work with you, no matter what that seems to look like, I would first ask you, do you have a suggestion? And if not, I think giving half of it to Hidden Oaks Middle School makes perfect sense. It's directly across the street. And then I would recommend that the other 50,000 go into our Parks and Rec budget because we're doing Charlie Layton Park over currently, and 50,000 can go to offset some of the expense that's being acquired or accrued in that project, which is a county-wide project that offers boat ramps, boat trailer parking. You could put the 50,000 into Parks and Rec.
Commissioner
If-
Campy and Commissioner Hurd, that is a good thing for our community. We expect kids here, and as much as I love our parks, I do think money could be well spent there.
Don't make me fill the room up with Hidden Oaks middle school families, because I can.
Mr. Walden, is this you?
Yeah, that was my suggestion, is perhaps that it could be moved to the park, so that's,
Okay, so it looks to me like the unresolved issues are the right-of-way, whether or not we can proceed without having another public hearing in order to establish a right-of-way donation from the proposal. So, you know, give us some green lights from engineering and some green lights from legal.
I think, Commissioners, the staff suggestion is that if there isn't a modification of the right-of-way, it's done within the exhibit shown on the screen. So you're just simply reconfiguring the road within that area. So instead of the teardrop shape, the road will shift as close to the south end of the already existing proposed right-of-way for this entry, the south end. And so they could shift the road within actually the exhibit already shown. So it wouldn't require any change to the exhibit. It would just simply be the detail of where the road intersects 30th, right? So that would be, if we're going to resolve it today, I think that's the approval that you can make. And then the dedication of the public benefits, I think, have been described as an appropriate use would be the school, and if you're accepting the other amount to the boat ramp.
And that's
Well,
a
to
pretty good shift, Commissioner.
parks.
That's to butt up against it to the south, that's still a pretty good shift. We probably pick up 35 feet.
Okay.
What, 35 feet?
I have one more, and then.
I'd like to actually have an opportunity to ask Ms. Campbell a question, since she's representing the existing.
Hang on, Ms. Elder has a question?
So the only thing I would say is that staff would need the authority to have the county engineer approve the new access point and then swap out the master final site plan to the PUD agreement, because it's not going to be the same as what's being approved right now. So in the motion, we need that as well.
You okay with that?
Me? Yes, I'm, that part of it's fine. I still have the problem with moving the driveway as far to the south as possible. That right-of-way is only 40 feet. Right now, this driveway kind of splits where it's 50-foot and where it's 40-foot. And now we're moving it solely into the 40-foot section. So, that requires a variance.
Can you just point to what you're referring to?
I think he's referring to the green shaded area, right?
Yeah, like the right-of-way, right here, from here back to the north is 50 feet. And once you pass this property line here and go back to the south, that's where it's 40 feet. Or will be 40 feet, once this 10-foot dedication's made.
So it's going to be
I
narrower.
think it would, before a decision is made on that way, we should take a short recess and
Lunch.
come back to this, yes, so that we can.
Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
We'll come back at 2:30.
May I just put into this conversation, I would expect Ms. Campbell, who represents the owner across the full length of the western side, to be included in that conversation. If she's not, I'm not a yes. I'm not voting yes unless an existing resident, not a resident, business owner for 25 years should have a seat at that table, or you can not count on my support.
So would you like to hear from Ms. Campbell now?
No, I'd like her, if you're going to have a conversation during lunch, that she's entitled to sit to represent the property owner who owns from Martin Highway all the way back. So you'd have to agree to that.
Yeah, I think staff is really just want to explore the technicalities of the right-of-way issue, so we can be factually on it. I'm certainly open to both of them listening in on our conversation and understanding, but the purpose of staff getting together with our legal is to specifically look at what is the southerly limit that we can approve this today without we're having to to have another public, essentially, so you can determine whether we actually hear this and decide it today, or it has to come back at a future date.
We'll be back at 2:30.
Thank you.